All right, everybody, good morning. We're going to begin the Board of Supervisors meeting in just a couple seconds. All right, welcome everybody. It is November 4th. It is Election Day. Regardless of anybody's out on the issues, please make sure you turn your ballots, get out there. Do a shout out for Donnie and all his team too, working hard with that. I'm sure that's a huge amount of work as I've seen. So with that, we're going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask if, Donnie, would you lead us in the pledge? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Wonderful. Now with that said, we do have a chair's report on a staff item. This will be for a brief announcement because of our October 21st, 2025 meeting adjourned before our public appointment closed session related to the CAO appointment, which is County Administrative Officer. And our board did take action on that appointment. We must report out the board's action at the earliest time, which is at this meeting now. It was moved by Supervisor Griefer, seconded by Supervisor Holland, and carried by unanimous vote to approve the appointment of Roger Root as the County Administrative Officer for Tuolumne County, conditioned on the parties agreeing to a mutually agreeable employment contract, which will be presented to the board for approval in open session at a regular future meeting. The board also appointed its Human Resources Director and Acting County Counsel to negotiate an employment contract with Mr. Root. Looking over to Counsel. Did I read it correctly? Fantastic. It's great. Well, everybody, if you don't mind, we just take a moment to celebrate moving from interim or acting to our new CAO of pending contract terms, Roger Root, and we'll give him a little recognition. So. Okay. Yeah, we can make him speak now, right? He has to give a speech. So I'm shuffling some papers earlier, some notes on it.
Yeah, I did prepare a speech, but I was going to wait until the contract was approved. But I can say it now if you want me to.
Wonderful. All right, so with that, we're going to open up oral communications. This is the section of the agenda for anything that is not on the agenda for you to be able to speak. I always like to say, especially when we have a full house, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, all the other things that are going on in your life to be here, to take part in your government, to speak to us, and we're here to listen. This is for us to hear your comments on non-agendized items. If it's one of the agenda items, that will be just before or during that item as we come up on the agenda. So if you have any public comment, oral communications, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Good morning.
I am a lady who's almost 76 years old, born and raised in California my whole life, born in the mountains, not here. Lived, worked, spent my whole life through California, lived in different areas. I heard about the meeting last time, which I did not know about and was preparing for a surgery, and so I did not attend. And I did go back and listen to it online, and with regards to the last meeting, item number 13, resolution 9225, designating October 14th as a National Day of Remembrance.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. We do have what is an amended version of that on our consent agenda, and it is the same resolution 9225, even though the language has changed a lot, so we have to have comment during the consent agenda.
But I don't want to speak about that.
Okay.
I want to speak about a National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk.
That is the same. Yeah, that's the same item. And so the comment would have to be.
Charlie Kirk's name in it?
It is the same resolution number, but the current one, I don't believe has that.
I understood it had been changed completely.
But it's the same resolution number. I'd look to counsel on that. And this is something we just try to be fair with under the Brown Act. It has to be within the right section on the agenda. Council?
I wanted to speak about what took place last meeting.
Yeah, I think
Right.
Yes.
And I think that's related enough to the item that the chair is correct in requesting that that comment be limited to the agenda item.
Okay, and that shouldn't be hopefully too long, but we just need to have all those comments there. Otherwise,
So you need me to wait.
just a little bit. Thank you. All right, do we have any additional comment? Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Chair, members of the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. My name is Sean Betzendorfer, and I'm a resident of Tuolumne County. I'm here today during public comment to address a serious concern regarding open communication and First Amendment rights on social media platforms used by elected officials. As many of you know, Supervisor Jaron Brandon maintains a Facebook profile where he shares updates about county business, including Board of Supervisors meetings and resolutions. For instance, on October 21st, he posted about tabling of a proposed Charlie Kirk resolution discussing nonpartisan boards, free speech, and political violence. This post directly relates to his official duties and invites public engagement on matters affecting our community. However, I have been restricted from commenting on such posts. I first noticed this when trying to contribute to his fundraiser for victims of the Chinese campfire complex. More recently, I attempted to comment on the Charlie Kirk resolution post, but was unable to do so. Evidence shows that while I can tag Supervisor Brandon, my comments on political or official topics are prevented or removed. In one instance, I posted a respectful comment asking the board to investigate this as a First Amendment violation, tagging Supervisors Anaya Kirk, Steve Griefer, and Jaron Brandon. Supervisor Brandon responded publicly stating, quote, "You would not be able to tag me if you couldn't reach me on social media. You're also welcome to email, call my office, or speak at any number of public meetings," end quote. Shortly after, that entire comment thread was deleted, as confirmed by Facebook notifications, stating the post had been removed by its owner. I also sent a direct message to Supervisor Brandon asking, quote, "Is there a reason I can't comment on your political posts? I can tag you, but can't comment," end quote. I received no response. And my follow-up message emphasizing that elected officials cannot block opposing viewpoints went unanswered. Additionally, I've shared this issue in local Facebook groups like Chit Chat Sonora, California, highlighting how this practice prevents community members with differing views from engaging in public discourse. I understand Supervisor Brandon's profile includes a disclaimer, quote, not county managed, views are my own, title only for ID, end quote. However, under the U.S. Supreme Court's 2024 rulings in Linkdy v. Freed and O'Connor-Ratcliffe v. Garnier, even personal accounts can implicate the First Amendment if used for official purposes. These cases establish that when public officials post about their duties and exercise authority to speak on behalf of the government, blocking critics or deleting comments based on viewpoint constitutes state action and violates free speech rights. Here, Supervisor Brandon's posts about board meetings and resolutions clearly purport to exercise his official authority, turning portions of his page into public forum. This isn't about harassment. I've never sent inappropriate messages. It's about transparency and equal access. By restricting comments on official matters, it silences dissenting voices and undermines the democratic process. I emailed the board about this on October 23rd, but received only an acknowledgement, no resolution.
Thank you for your comments.
I urge the board to investigate this
Excuse me.
matter, ensure
Sorry.
compliance with First Amendment
Sean, we have to
protections,
interrupt.
and direct Supervisor Brandon to
that's
lift
3 minutes.
restrictions on public engagement for
Sir,
official posts.
please, that's 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'm happy to provide
Sir, that's-
screenshots and messages as
Thank you. That's 3 minutes. All right. Do we have any additional public comment? Again, I hate to say it, that is something I try to be very firm with. We got that under the Brown Act. We have to be fair to everybody. So when we say 3 minutes, whether it's something I like to hear, whether it's something I don't like to hear, that has no bearing on it. It is always 3 minutes for public comment unless we say otherwise. So thank you for respecting that in advance. Good morning.
Good morning, Board. Andy Carter with Tuolumne County Transportation Council and Transit Agency. I'm here to actually let's wish everyone a happy Election Day and congratulations to Mr. Root on his upcoming appointment. So, but I'm here today to talk about a really fun project we've got going on in the county. Some of you are probably well aware of this by now, but the Gold Rush Path is coming. We're in the planning phases, all 6 of them. The Gold Rush Path will stretch from the Chicken Ranch Casino area all the way through the town of Sonora and on up to Columbia. We're really seeing this as a backbone and a really special project for the area that can create additional trails. It's going to allow people healthy ways to exercise, people wonderful ways to get to work, to get to the doctor. It's a great transformative community project that we're just stoked about. But what I'm really excited to tell you about is our Gold Rush Path Visioning Days that are coming up on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of this month. And I've got a full schedule in the back for folks to check out. We're getting it out on social media. We'll be taking it out to the post offices, maybe even some direct mail so we can get the word physically into people's hands on these events. We are looking at a few kind of capstone events on each of the 3 days. So in the evening on the 13th, we will be at the Armory running some workshops. We've got a virtual reality headset that people can try on and do a flyover on the Gold Rush Path, which will be really cool. We will have snacks provided by Blue Zones. We've got a few wonderful community partners that are sponsoring events. That Friday night, the 14th, we'll be at the Opera Hall, and at that event, we'll be telling stories of the Gold Rush Path, some history of the locations that we'll be building through, and then on Saturday is our finale, our grand finale at the Columbia State Historic Park, and we'll be working with their team to bring folks in to really show the amazing things that will be built along the path. Of course, all of this is open for public feedback. That's our main goal here, is not only get the word out, but get input from folks. So definitely a fun series of events. We hope to see you all there. In case you're interested more about the project, you can visit us at goldrushpath.com. And we are getting social media up and running. It's been a little bit slow, but our hashtags are Gold Rush Path. We're on Instagram and Facebook, so definitely come find us, and hopefully we'll see some of you there.
Great.
All right,
And
thank
what
you.
was the date and time of the Columbia event?
So we'll actually be in Columbia twice. We'll be there for kind of a neighborhood-focused meeting the evening of the 13th from 5 to 6, and then Saturday morning we'll be there from 9 to noon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Patricia Ray from Rugged Trail Road again. Thanks to Mr. Root for a quiet week, but that's just another temporary stay. Why has our getting freed from the unlicensed, unpermitted, toxic dump up against my property been so much like trying to pull a 200-foot tapeworm out of a screaming elephant? Absolutely no public comment period was given us before this started. Pushing down and getting rid of almost all the trees with bulldozers. Chapter 9.24, premature removal of oak trees looks good on paper. Unending grading, dumping, excavating, wrecking the whole parcel, not just 10% of it, while people I've talked with have had to comply with every picky little county detail to do any picky little project of theirs. I've read and been told this is considered an urban area. Is there another urban area in this state with no noise ordinance except barking dogs and no protection for residential areas? It's been looking like the county saves money by protecting this unlicensed dump for the old road asphalt, dusty concrete, giant dry tree stumps and rubbish that Cal Recycle doesn't want. Surely our county officials haven't been getting bribed or extorted by the dump owner operators. If both these imaginary reasons are untrue, then why this deliberately pernicious encouragement of the dump while treating us people it impacts as expendable? What is it that's really scuttling and gnawing in the walls?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. More on the dump. we did have a week of quietness, thank you. So I appreciate that. I think he ran out of things to grind and crush and dump on the parcel. He didn't grind anything there, but I wrote a code compliance complaint about the crusher being present on the parcel because right now it's definitely a public nuisance because it's just saying he can't use it on the parcel isn't good enough. We need to have it removed so that he can't just jump in it and start crushing again. The last time he crushed was as recent as 2024. That's not acceptable. So right now the site is operating on the ministerial building permit, which was again renewed this summer. A ministerial building permit is only for building and the building pad. In this case, it was because it's a pre-manufactured house. It would be only for the creation of the pad, maybe a little bit of fill. But instead, the whole 2.5 acre parcel has been used as a landfill. We've excavated and graded the whole thing on the ministerial building permit. Now, the definition of a ministerial building permit is ministerial describes a governmental decision involving little or no personal judgment by the public official as to the wisdom or manner of carrying out the project. The public official merely applies the law and facts as presented, but uses no special discretion or judgment in reaching a decision. Ministerial decision involves only the use of fixed standards or objective measures. It goes on to use a couple of examples. One of them is issuing a dog license, so not very complicated. So this ministerial permit was issued in July of 2023, and I of course objected to it because it was being used as a way to operate the dump. So we got, in return, I got an email from county council stating that the county has the right to enforce. The enforcement of its ordinance code is a discretionary, non-discretionary action. For example, using a law enforcement deciding whether or not to give a ticket to or something like that. So somehow we're doing a discretionary action on a non-discretionary permit, which is only for a building pad, but using it as an entire permit to operate a disposal facility. Doesn't make any sense. The permit needs to be revoked right now because it's a dangerous weapon in his name as an active permit. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have additional public comment? Good morning.
Jason Revord. I'm back. Well, so 9/20 of 23, Mike filed for your building permit. On that on the proposed plans that you had for that, you showed the hydrant was existing. The hydrant wasn't. We know that. Tracy Riggs has now refuted your statement. So has Don Perkins from TUD. Trying to figure this out, so started doing a little research. Kind of figured out that I think what's happened is without the hydrant there and showing that it was existing, trying to get the loan for this property was going to be quite difficult. Along with that, you had some correction letters that were sent out. You responded. You decided to build your buildings, the 8 buildings out there. Finally just had the permit was finally issued from Amador County. At that point, now you have $77,000 worth of school fees that need to be paid. You have $12,000 worth of mitigation fees that need to be paid. Those should have been paid before the permit was issued. There again, you already know this. So just kind of curious on where we're gonna go with this, and I think maybe the DA needs to look at this because the hydrant was also never inspected by the fire department, and we don't know if anything was done with any water testing through Aqua Labs. So, and then today we also have the building code update, which I think Mike should be recusing himself of because of a conflict of interest. And you never did respond to you having a conflict of interest with Sonora High School being on the Board of Trustees. So with that said, I'll be back here in a couple weeks and we'll have some more information for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have additional comment? Got the audience going. Good morning.
Hello. Just as a comment, I don't think Mr. Holland falls within the purview of the district attorney. He falls within your purview. So people should be requesting if you, as a board, choose to investigate one of your colleagues or not. So I would like to talk about some community events. So Walmart now has a new store manager, and it is Marcus Rodriguez, who had been there before, and I know he was there before it became the Superstore, and I can't remember if he managed the Superstore conversion, but I'm hoping he'll do a really good job like he did before, because when I go there, I can tell if he's there that day or not, because the place is cleaner. Walmart is no longer giving you plastic bags. You will only be getting paper bags at Walmart now. And they also removed all of their trash cans from the parking lot because people were taking so much of their household trash there. And speaking of trash, Waste Management is no longer collecting in Sonora. So God only knows what that's going to do to all of us. They are delivering cans today, so you'll see them going up and down the street. There's been a lot of concern about Cal Waste offering green waste to the city of Sonora residents, and green waste not being offered in the county. So if the county folks want Waste Management to offer green waste curbside service, then you need to start speaking up and determine what you're willing to pay, because that service will not be free. And please don't come to my house and bring your green waste from outside the city limits. I have enough of my own. Then I'd like to talk about recycling. Once again, these big, thick bags, you cannot put, well, you can. You can put them in the plastic bag containers for recycling, but they will not be recycled. They will go into the landfill. So please find someone who could use them. The food banks, the churches who are going to be having their holiday fairs, the library for their book sales, whatever. Cal Waste claims are going to be recycling 1 through 7. I'd be interested to see that, because we only do 1s and 2s in Sonora. So this is a 7. We don't recycle this at Waste Management. This is a 6. We don't recycle this at Waste Management. This is a 5. We don't recycle this at Waste Management. This is a 5. We don't recycle that. This, however, is a 1, so we do recycle that. And the 2s are like the opaque colored milk cartons, and we do recycle.
All right. Thank you. All right. And do we have additional comment? Going once, going twice. All right. Seeing none, we will close oral communications to the board and open up staff reports. If any members of our staff have an update for the board, please come forward. Annie, good morning.
Good morning. Annie Hockett, Health and Human Services Agency Director. I'm here this morning to give a quick update on the status of CalFresh benefits here in Tuolumne County. This is certainly a topic that's received a lot of attention nationally, at the state level, and here locally, so we wanted to just give an update. So first, what is CalFresh? CalFresh is California's implementation of the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. It's designed to reduce food insecurity and improve nutrition among low-income individuals and families. Through CalFresh, eligible households receive monthly benefits that are uploaded onto an EBT card, which they can then go use to purchase groceries at authorized retailers, farmers markets, and some select online vendors. There are restrictions on what you can purchase with an EBT card. So the state of California oversees CalFresh program policy and manages the distribution of funds, which originates at the federal level. Counties serve as the frontline administrators of the program. We manage application processing, eligibility determination, case management, and we also manage fraud prevention and outreach services. So how is the shutdown impacting CalFresh? As a result of the shutdown, the federal agencies responsible for funding food assistance programs like SNAP are not receiving any appropriations. October 23rd was the deadline to avoid any impacts to the November benefits. So in other words, the government would have needed to reopen by that date to ensure that there was no disruption. Obviously, that date has come and gone, so there will be delays locally. There are 2 separate court rulings that came out as of Friday that may require the USDA to use SNAP contingency funds to fund these programs. We are awaiting further guidance from the California Department of Social Service regarding how these rulings may impact California. As of yesterday, the USDA did issue statements regarding that they do not plan to issue full benefits as a result of these rulings, but instead they are looking at partial benefits. However, there remains disagreements on the methodology of determining how partial benefits will be calculated. So there's still a lot happening in this space. Once federal funds do become available, it still may take several days or weeks for the benefits to be distributed. So how many individuals locally receive CalFresh benefits? As of October 31st, 2025, Tuolumne County recorded 6,660 CalFresh recipients locally. Over 1,500 of those are children, over 1,400 are elderly, over 800 are disabled, and nearly 300 are veterans. So what local resources are available? We just want to remind everybody that Amador Tuolumne Community Action Agency, or ADCA, operates our regional food bank and supports several local community pantries. I did provide a list in the back of what is available. We've also just seen an incredible response from local businesses, restaurants, philanthropic groups, and faith-based organizations who have all kind of stepped forward to help. Their generosity is a powerful reflection on what it means to serve and support one another as a community, and I just want to wholeheartedly thank everybody that stepped into that space. Finally, I'd like to close by just recognizing our public service unit staff and leadership. In the midst of all this uncertainty and heightened public concern around this issue, we've certainly experienced increased call volume, increased lobby traffic, and other operational pressures that have undoubtedly impacted overall workload. Despite these challenges, staff have continued to respond with professionalism, empathy, and a strong commitment to service. Their dedication reflects the very best of public service and represents this county in a manner that should make both the board and the community very proud. So I just want to thank them. Obviously, this is a very rapidly evolving situation. We'll continue to provide updates, but felt it was appropriate to provide what we know as of today. So thank you so much.
And thank you. All right, do we have additional staff reports? Kim, good morning.
Good morning, Board. Kim Freeman, your health officer. I just wanted to update you a little bit on Red Ribbon Week, which technically has come and gone. That was the 23rd through the 31st. And it is a week designed to tell kids not to do drugs in all manner of fashion. The public health team was out at the schools doing demonstrations, engaging the kids, lots of great discussion, lots of engaged kids. For us, it's more of a season. Myself and Rob Ager are continuing to go out to the high schools to continue presentations. We have in tow this year a recovered addict to tell the story, and we've received a lot of positive feedback. So just wanted to give you an update that we are working hard on trying to keep our community healthy and to get it healthier regarding drug abuse. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have additional staff reports? Good morning.
Morning. My name is Madeline Amlin. I'm the GIS coordinator for Tuolumne County. And I have an announcement about a GIS Day celebration that we'll be hosting here at the county. November 17th through 21st is National Geography Week, and November 19th is actually World GIS Day. And that is a time to celebrate the importance of geography in our lives and specifically what GIS can do, all the exciting things it's capable of. So as in years past, we're going to host an event here. It'll be open to the public. We're going to do it on November 20th from 11 to 1:30 here at the board chambers. And we will have probably 5 or 6 different presentations and some like snack and mingle breaks. So you don't have to come to the whole thing. If you can just drop in for 20 minutes, hear a little thing about GIS and maybe say hi to some people who are doing it, that would be great. We would love it if you guys could attend. Thank you.
And Matt, can you give me explain like I'm 5, what is GIS? Why is that cool for the public to come learn and attend?
Great question. And you will hear more about that at our GIS Day event. But GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems, and it is using computers to do mapping and spatial analysis to solve problems or answer questions about our world around us. And it can be used in many different industries. It can be used to solve socioeconomic problems or like fires. It can be used in fires to do some analysis on the ground of what's happening, to help solve some problems and better our world.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Supervisor.
Good. Yes.
So, ma'am, we want to keep throwing great things at you. So I know for a fact that a lot of people don't use the GIS website that the county has. Can you give us a quick 30-second bite of what the top 5 things are that people can in the community can go to that website and maybe solve their own questions before going another path?
Sure. So on the county's website, we do have a handful of different public information maps, and they're called map applications. And it's sort of like, if anybody's familiar with Google Maps, which pretty much everybody is, you can go there, and that's like our own custom map showing different things like land use types, zoning. You can find out what your zoning is, what the zoning is down the street, and maybe what you could do at those zonings and what kind of land use things are available for you at that place.
Perfect.
So that's something you can do. We also have a public information map there for when there's fires and evacuations. You can go there and see who's being evacuated, if you're in the zone, if you're near the zone, and kind of keep tabs on that as the incident progresses. I know that's not 5, but that's definitely a few things you can do.
You hit the important ones because a lot of
Yeah.
times people will say, like for a fire, I didn't get the notification through Everbridge, but they could watch the fire
Right.
progressing. That they might go if they can go onto that website. Additionally, people get a question all the time of, hey, who's my supervisor? That's another
Yes.
you can find out on there. So I highly support the GIS group. You guys are the unsung heroes when it comes to the geek factor when it comes out to getting that information out there, and that's a big compliment. So don't take it as derogatory. So keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate everything that website does.
Thank you. Yes, definitely proud to be a GIS geek. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional staff reports. I know in my head it's really cool maps for even people that don't really care much about maps. They're pretty impressive.
It even tells new supervisors where their districts are.
That's helpful.
It does help.
Sometimes one have been up here for a while that need to double check
And
too.
who knew standard was in my district? Thank you, GIS.
Donnie, hey, good
Good
morning.
morning, Board. Donnie McNair, County Clerk and Auditor Controller. Today is Election Day. We have already received 18,000 ballots, just 49.5%, so just about 50%.
Wow.
If you have not returned your ballot yet, we have 5 vote centers open today, the Tuolumne and Groveland Resilience Centers, the Jamestown Community Center, and the Twain Harte Bible Church. And then downstairs on the 2nd floor, you can come and vote. We also have 10 drop-off boxes around the county, and if you're going to return your ballot via mail, I would suggest going into the post office to have them postmark it today's date. I just want to thank all of the election workers, the ones that help out at the vote centers, the ones that help us process ballots downstairs, as well as a lot of county staff from other departments that have rallied together to help us out. We can't do it without them, so I want to thank all of them. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. And Donnie, on that, you said, so if they take their mail-in ballot, put it in the drop box today, but it's not postmarked with that.
If they drop it off at the drop box, we'll have teams that go to all 10 of them and they lock them at 8 o'clock, and they'll take everything that's
But
in
if
there.
they
So
put
as
it in
long
the
as they're
mail-
returned by 8 o'clock tonight. But if they go to the mail, they need to go to the post office and have them postmarked. If they're postmarked on Election Day, and then they get through the mail back to us within 7 days, they get counted. But if they're not postmarked, then they won't get counted.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do we have additional staff reports? All right. Going once, going twice. Seeing none. All right. We will close the staff reports section of our board meeting and move on to board reports. If any members of the board would like to make a report out. Not seeing any eye contact. All right, so with that, we'll close board reports. So we would have next the consent calendar. With that, Supervisor Griefer, did you have a recommendation?
Yes, Chair, thank you. We have a large number of outside the normal organization professionals waiting for item number 13, so I would like to request that we move item number 13 to before the consent calendar, so we can free up the consultants and our staff.
Item number 13, you said 12 before. Oh, I think we had gotten the number and the item.
I may have misspoke.
Understood.
It's the Health and Human Services one.
Okay. So with that, I think that's fine if there's no objection.
Yeah.
So how about we begin the setup there, and we can handle the consent calendar, and we'll handle any pulled items from consent after item 13. How's that sound? That gives us just enough time to set up.
That was my question. Do we expect consent to take a long time? I didn't.
Not the consent agenda. That won't take long. If we pull anything off, I can put that after item 13. So there won't be any delay, but we won't need a recess.
So we do consent, and then they set up for item 13, and after
Yeah.
we're done with consent, we move into item 13.
Exactly. So let's do that. If we would have whoever needs to set up for item 13, please use this time to get ready, get everything plugged in, and ask the clerk to read. Well, first we'll ask if the board has any items that we would like to pull off of the consent calendar.
5 and 10.
All right, pulling item 10. Do we have any other items?
Item 5.
5 and 10.
Okay.
You said 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're pulling items 5, 10. Do we have any other items that we would like to pull? I would like to pull item 2. Do we have additional? Okay, seeing that, if the clerk can read the consent calendar, except for items 2, 5, and 10.
Item number 1, approval of plans and specifications for necessary conversion of the former Tuolumne General Hospital kitchen at 101 Hospital Road to expand services within the Department of Social Services Child and Family Visitation Center, authorize staff to release an invitation for bids, and make a finding authorizing specific products to be included as required to match other products in use on other county public improvements that are already completed or in the course of completion. Item number 3, adopting Resolution 93-25, continuing the local health emergency in Tuolumne County due to the immediate public health threat caused by hazardous waste and debris from the TCU September Lightning Complex fire as required by California Health and Safety Code 101080. Item number 4, adopting Resolution 94-25, continuing the local state of emergency in Tuolumne County due to the TCU September Lightning Complex fire as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C. Item number 6, recognizing a report submitted by the Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools on the Williams Act pursuant to Education Code 1240. Item number 7, adopting Resolution 95-25, approving an agreement with CAL FIRE for a volunteer fire capacity grant, VFC, in the amount of $2,124, increasing appropriations in the fire fund by the same amount, and authorizing the county administrator to sign all related documents. Item number 8, finding that a summary of ordinance number 3485 was published on October 24, 2025 in the Union Democrat as required by law. Item number 9, adopting Resolution 96-25, approving the acceptance of the BSCC Proposition 47 Cohort 5 grant and authorizing the county administrative officer to sign the standard agreement, Appendix B, and all future related documents. Item number 11, adopting Resolution 97-25 to approve the fiscal year 2025-26 Memorandum of Understanding between the County of Tuolumne and the County of Tuolumne Management Association.
Nicely done. All right, so we're going to be opening up public comment on this. Again, this is the consent agenda, but not items 2, 5, and 10. If you're not sure about that, we do have the agenda posted online. I believe we have copies in the back. Is that correct? that anybody can go grab. So if you're here for a specific item, you're not sure which it is, just double check with that while we're having this meeting. All right, opening up public comment on the consent agenda.
Good
Go ahead.
morning.
Morning.
Karen McGettigan, Human Resources. Here today on that item 11, the MOU with the County of Tuolumne Management Association and the County of Tuolumne. Obviously, I want to thank your board and the Management Association for the successful negotiation of this contract. We took that opportunity to clean up what is 10 amendments on that MOU and a side letter into one clean MOU. I do have the red line version. It will be available online, but I have a few printed copies that I'll leave on the back for anyone who wants to read that for their pleasure.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and do we have additional public comment on the consent calendar or consent agenda? I always get the two confused. Good morning.
Good morning. Dory Beats, Tuolumne County Office of Emergency Services. Would like to just speak to items number 3, 4, and number 8. First, for number 3 and number 4, these are continuing proclamations, both the local health and also the local emergency. This is required as we continue to do the recovery as a result of the TCU September Lightning Complex. And then number 8, apologies, there was no memo attached to that explaining, but that this is the publication is required for the October 21st. Your board approved the urgency order establishing the requirements for removal of the fire damaged debris on private property following the TCU September Lightning Complex. So this ordinance allows us as a county then to remove that debris within the disaster area. I wanted to just give the board also an update. We have received and verified 26 right of entries that cover 35 parcels. We have 4 more that we are currently in the process today of making sure everything is there, and 7 more parcels that we anticipate forthcoming today or tomorrow. That would put us at 46 parcels that we will have right of entries for debris removal, which I think is fabulous and phenomenal. So I want to thank the property owners for stepping up and doing that and assisting with us. Reminder that the opt-in program is for those property owners who had a destroyed structure greater than 120 square feet or a combined of 120 square feet. While we had a deadline of November 1st, we are continuing to make sure we get as many right of entries as possible before we start that debris removal process. So if there are any questions, 209-533-6395. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any additional public comment on the consent calendar minus 2, 5, and 10? Going once, going twice. All right, seeing none, I think. Yeah. All right, sometimes ambiguous, get somebody walking in the back. We'll close public comment on that. I appreciate everybody's patience as we're doing our team builder activity over here, but it helps move things along as well. So thanks everybody for setting up during that. I'll bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion. Motion to approve on the consent agenda.
I'll approve those items on the consent calendar.
Minus 2, 5, and 10.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
If you point at each other, that doesn't help me. All right, Supervisor Holland gets it. All right, we have a first by Supervisor Campbell. We have a second by Supervisor Holland. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. All right, consent calendar passes unanimously. So the way we're going to have is for items 2, 5, and 10, they will be happening right after we kind of insert item 13 as our next one, which we've just set up for on the county EMS assessment. So with that, if there... Oh, okay, we're going to take, what do you need? Need 10 minutes? Yeah, let's, if it's going to be 10 minutes, can we do that while we're doing other items currently? Is that something that has to have the meeting paused? It does have to have the meeting paused. Okay, let's try it then. Let's try it then for 5. My apologies. I didn't know that the Zoom couldn't be set up while we were doing the meeting. I thought that was something we could do during this setup too. So we will reconvene at 9:53. Again, I offer my apologies for that. I thought that would be able to do consecutively. Okay, so with that, if the clerk can read, and again, just for clarity, we're doing 13. Then we will move into the pulled items of the consent calendar in that order, 2, 5, and 10. Then we'll be back to the regular agenda. If the clerk can read item 13 for us, please. And take that moment and opportunity to say, and I did that at the beginning of the meeting too, please silence your cell phones, check your alarms if you got anything on there. Just,
And just for
Yes.
clarity, so we're not continuing with consent, we're moving on to item 13 before finishing this.
correct.
consent.
Item 13, then the pulled consent items.
Okay.
Yep. All right. If you can read item 13.
Item number 13, presentation on the Tuolumne County Ambulance System Assessment and Options for Future Operations, and consideration of approving the recommendation to maintain the current public-private system model and issue a request for proposals.
Okay. So with that, please take it away. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having us. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Board. My name is Dr. David Ghilarducci. I'm an emergency physician and EMS medical director for about a quarter of a century and former battalion chief in Santa Clara County. So I'm representing healthcare strategists. We are a consulting firm that only has governmental clients, if you will. So we focus especially on this type of work that we're presenting here today. I have with me Brenda Brenner, who is a longtime field paramedic, EMS administrator, and LEMSA director. And then on the line, I also have Lou Meyer, who's been a medic since Vietnam and has been up to the executive level for a very large ambulance firm in the country. So we're bringing to you with lots of experience. Other team members include fire chiefs, dispatchers, a broad range. So thank you for your time here. Let's go to the next slide, please. So next one, system highlights. Wonderful. So, I wanted to start this conversation this morning about saying how impressed we are with the agency here and the EMS system that you have. We think, we know you have very talented, very bright people here. They're sitting next to me, the people that we interviewed when we were here for a few days back in the spring, all really engaged people. And so you have a great system, but of course, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't find some suggestions for you going forward. So just a quick system highlight, you have what we call a hybrid EMS model. Sometimes this is called a public utility model, which is a mix between, say, government-owned facilities and ambulances, but privately operated staff. One of the advantages that you have there is you get an enhanced Medi-Cal reimbursement. Now, this is getting kind of in the weeds, but it really vastly improves the amount of reimbursement you get for a transport when you're billing as a governmental agency. That's an advantage that a private ambulance provider does not have. You have strong, excellent clinical leadership with Dr. Freeman sitting next to me, and really a commitment to quality and innovation. That was, I think, the main reason we were brought in to do this EMS assessment, was a proactive approach to look at the system, see where things could be improved, what's working well, what isn't working well. And of course, as we'll get to toward the end, and I think probably the most important part of this presentation will be the last 3 slides, is talking about the departure of Manteca District Ambulance and the searching out for a new provider and what that model would look like. So next slide, please. Thank you. So as I'm sure you're aware, the EMS agency, which is under the Health and Human Services Agency, is responsible, essentially the regulatory authority for EMS activities in California. There are 33 LEMSAs in the state. LEMSA is local EMS agency, so pardon me about the jargon. They essentially are in charge of managing the system and ensuring high performance and clinical, clinical activity. The dispatch is done by the sheriff's office, but also CAL FIRE has a dispatch agency, but the main answering point for 911 calls is the sheriff's department, and they operate a EMS dispatch through there, including EMR, which is EMD, emergency medical dispatch, which includes some features we'll talk about in a minute. Our paramedics on the ambulances, as well as EMTs, perform all the advanced and basic life support. And then there's fire and law enforcement collaboration, which is essential. The fire departments typically are what we call first responders They typically are on the scene faster than an ambulance ever possibly could be, and so many of the life-saving steps that are necessary occur by those first arriving teams. Next slide, please. And one more. So key recommendations. Again, we visited the dispatch center. We've interviewed folks. All of these recommendations come from our on-the-ground investigations. You have what's called a computer-aided dispatch system here, and it's fairly new. It's working well. We think there are still opportunities to fully leverage that capability that you have to make dispatch more efficient. The medical priority dispatching system, this is where the person who answers the 911 call is able to assess your medical situation and apply a category or code to that gives the responders more information on what the type of incident would be. And those are prioritized on essentially fast versus slow. Obviously, the sicker patients are the fast, and slower ones are ones where we have a little bit more time to respond to. And that is working well here in this county. There are a few things that we have recommendations there that are in my report. One of the big things we saw, a big advantage right now when a call comes into the dispatch agency at the Sheriff's Department, then a verbal call needs to be then relayed to CAL FIRE, the CAL FIRE dispatch. And that is a process that takes time. It takes people away from the board. It's got a propensity for errors that occur, and a direct CAD to CAD, essentially an electronic linkage between CAL FIRE's CAD and the Sheriff's Department CAD is something that we recommend. And then finally, if there is some way for agencies, all responding agencies on a call to operate on a single frequency, we think that could help coordinate on-scene activities and improve the response. Next page. Looking at shift duration and deployment, you have a somewhat unusual shift arrangement here where most of the ambulances are on 48-hour shifts, which is attractive to the employees for many reasons. But it does add some other challenges. One of the things is that the ambulance staffing doesn't necessarily meet the sort of daily changes in demand. And so this curve here shows you kind of a typical demand curve during the day for 911 calls. And obviously, as you can see, the demand is highest in the afternoon and evening hours and then tails off into the early morning hours. There may be an opportunity to add additional part-time units or 12-hour ambulances to help take up some of that demand. And there may be even opportunities to reduce the ambulance coverage during the overnight periods that appropriately covers the gaps, but doesn't have, it's essentially reallocating some of those ambulance hours to a busier time. The other thing we saw here is that right now, I think one fairly unique thing here is that a lot of the ambulance traffic, there is a high volume of ambulance traffic from the hospital to other hospitals. That's what we call IFTs, or interfacility transfers. It's an extraordinary number here. And so a lot of the ambulance activity is not just 911 calls, but it's also this moving patients from one hospital to another. And that's a critical function because if Adventist Health Sonora is not able to get out sick patients, number one, those patients don't get the care they need, like at a specialty center. But secondly, then that hospital gets loaded up and unable to take new patients. So having an efficient flow there is important. What's happening now is MDA, Manteca District Ambulance, subcontracts out to another ambulance company called AM West that provides BLS ambulance transports. And that covers roughly half of the IFTs. The other half require a paramedic or an ALS transfer, and those are still covered by the Tuolumne County ambulance personnel. Integrating those all into one single entity, I think, would be advantageous for a number of reasons, both from a kind of oversight perspective, but also from a financial perspective. So that's one of our recommendations. Next page. Recruitment, retention, and training are always issues for EMS. It's a difficult job. It's not a high-paying job. And people, the cost of living in California does not help with that. So finding ways to find people that want to do this work, who are able to do this work and make it a sustainable choice for them is very important. Getting younger people to get into the field, I think, is important through, enhancing recruitment through scholarships and community programs. there is some opportunity to revise the contracting structure to incentivize optimal performance, ensuring salary structures are competitive with neighboring services. We did look at that. We compared it to both other valley agencies and then the Bay Area, which is really a whole nother category of salary range. So we're really kind of here in Tuolumne County kind of competing with these other agencies that can pay a lot more, but there's trade-offs for people. And what you're fortunate here is that you have a fairly stable staff, people that have been here for a long time. So there seems to be a pretty good mix between shift schedules and compensation and benefits that retain your staff. You don't seem to have a lot of high turnover here that we see in other places. One of the big recommendations going forward is that the contract with CAL FIRE, who is Tuolumne County Fire under contract, we recommend that they be brought up to a minimum EMT level certification. So the next contract with CAL FIRE should include that. The reason we include that is, you know, in the old days, paramedics were the only ones who could do the major life-saving skills, the things like cardiac defibrillation and advanced airways and epinephrine and Narcan. And now what's happened is a lot of those skills have been pushed down to the EMT level. The other important thing is that those skills are the most importantly done within the first few minutes of a call. And with an average response time for an ambulance of about 12 minutes in Tuolumne County, and that's not an unusual number, that's an appropriate number for the type of county that it is. Obviously, a lot of those life-saving skills can't wait for the ambulance to arrive. So having that skill level on the scene early on, we believe is important. Next slide. You have now countywide EMS medical director who ensures consistent clinical guidelines are met, that performance standards are met as well. We also recommend the addition of an ambulance service medical director. This is essentially a medical director for the provider agency. So if you're an ambulance company, you employ employees, you should have a medical director who can help you do internal quality assurance, case investigations and things like that, that act in support of the county EMS medical director. It's, I think, a lot to ask for the county EMS medical director to take on that role as well. This is really a responsibility of any professional organization that provides a service. The other thing we recommend is these things called key performance indicators. These are things looking at, you know, how well are we doing on the scene clinically? Are we meeting certain targets? Is our error rate low? Are there things that we need to improve? And you have a pretty robust KPI monitoring system, but unfortunately it's largely manual. So we're recommending an automated process for doing that. Quality assurance really does require almost daily updates on performance, because when you do quality assurance, you do these small kind of tests of change to see, okay, we've got a problem here, let's tweak something, let's see if it makes a difference. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you only know if it works or not when you have immediate feedback and say, okay, this didn't work, let's try something else to see if we can improve a particular number. And so, you know, if I produce quarterly or monthly reports, that really isn't as useful for that purpose, because you can't do these kind of small tests of change to do that. Next slide. One other area worth investigating is community paramedicine and alternate destinations. Being a somewhat rural community, you know, a lot of times people need to go outside of the county for specialty care, or they may not need to leave the county if there are other ways to handle a problem. And so community paramedicine alternate destinations are kind of lumped together as a way of providing EMS service that isn't necessarily always emergency. So a community paramedicine program might go out to a regular list of clients and make sure they're doing well, make sure somebody with a history of congestive heart failure is, you know, not gaining too much weight on water weight and other aspects that can be helpful to actually proactively avoid the next 911 call. Lou Meyer, who's on the line with us today, is an expert in community paramedicine and helped the state of California write the program. So we're happy to take any questions at the end regarding that. The other thing is behavioral health. Unfortunately, when behavioral health calls happen in the field, we either lump them into, okay, you're on a psychiatric hold and you got to go to the hospital, which invariably means being transported from one hospital to another hospital. You're waiting hours for care. It's very long transports. When there may be a subset of patients that actually don't need to be in that sort of level, they can maybe receive some services right there in their home. They might be able to safely arrange a follow-up appointment the next day or some other alternative avenues that can avoid this kind of fixed pathway that is really a nightmare for folks. And then finally, post-discharge care partnerships with the hospital. The hospital obviously has an interest in patients that they discharge from the hospital not returning back to the hospital with a recurrence of the problem. And so having somebody who can go out into the home to check on them can help avoid those readmissions. Next. Financially, we think you're doing quite well. You have what's called an enterprise fund, which is essentially money that comes in from patient billing. As I said earlier, you have this GEMT fund that provides enhanced reimbursement for EMS services. We do think, again, as I said before, that integrating both the 911 and IFT services under a single contractor can eliminate some inefficiencies and improve accountability. Your billing services are currently done by county employees, and it seems to be cost effective. Although we do recommend occasional or periodic audits to make sure that the billing is capturing all available revenue from insurance providers, including Medi-Cal and Medicare. And then we'll be talking about future contracting, but it should also include requirements for financial reporting. If there is a profit, that there be profit caps, also clinical and operation metrics. Okay. And I'm going to kind of go quickly through these because I think the meat of this is at the end. We do recommend some improvements on air ambulance usage, some interfacility transport collaboration, and EMS and fire agency relations. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is I think the meat and potatoes here. Now that MDA is going to be leaving, they've been a great partner for many, many years, but now we're at a turning point. So we have really three options going forward. The first is continue with this current hybrid system, what we call the public utility model. The second option is forming what's called an exclusive operating area. And to be honest, most LEMSAs in the state have EOAs. What this means is that you have to get an EOA approved by the state. You have to then go out to bid. Ambulance providers come in and bid on the proposal, and then you select the winning bidder from that. And then the third option is creating a third service. And what a third service is, if you think of, well, you know, I'm a past firefighter, so I think of the first service as the fire service. And police is also one of the services, but a third service would be EMS. And if you think about it, EMS is kind of odd in that sense. We think of it as part of emergency services, but it's often operated in a private manner or some hybrid manner and not considered like a public agency like we're used to. So that's your third option. So let's look at the pros and cons of those three. The next slide. And so this table here, we've labeled them with the three options along the vertical columns with a list of pros and cons, if you will, on the left side. The bottom one probably is going to be the most important. That's fiscal impact to the county. So we'll conclude on that bottom row. But as you can see, the current model, the PUM, probably has the most green marks, if you will. The EOA and the third service have some advantages, but the most significant disadvantage of the other two at this point is the short time frame for when MDA will be leaving, and that's June of 2026, or a little over 8 months now. And so that means that there really isn't time to implement the two other models to the right. So our recommendation and bottom line is that we continue with the current model. We think it's working well. There may be some opportunities with the other two models that will take some more time to flesh out and to develop. But the most expedient option, I think the most advantageous option is to continue with the PUM model. Next slide. And that slide essentially just says what I just said. All right, so I think this is the final slide, conclusion, and then we're happy to take any questions. Next slide.
Great, so with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's fine. You know,
they got the conclusion slide before the conclusion slide, the concluding
exactly,
slide.
that was a tease. All right, well done, yeah.
Great, thank you. So I think the best way would probably be to bring this back to the board for us to do any questions on this, then open it up for comment and bring it back for discussion. Everybody? Okay, so with that, and please, we'll keep it just to questions on this, hopefully of a technical nature, and we'll have comments after public comment. Thank you for the presentation. I'm looking at my colleagues. Supervisor Griever.
Thank you, Chair. On slide number 7, there was the call volume. You had your bar graph, call volume.
Yes.
Does that take into consideration the IFTs?
Yes, we felt it was important to look at both because they're integrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the audience, my question is that you see there's a number of calls, X number of hours a day. That isn't just from the field. That also includes transfers out of our area to other facilities, and that is all lumped in together as well.
Yeah, one exception, though, I should clarify, is it does not include AM West volume, which is,
Okay.
yeah. So we were looking at the impact on the 911 system.
To that point, you stated that AM West takes half of the.
About half.
About half. Okay.
That's right.
Excellent. And then, so on slide number 13,
Mhm.
which is going to be your PUM versus EOA, and we all know how I feel about acronyms. There we go. So currently, we are operating under the current hybrid system, the PUM.
Right.
Now, our county to the south is Mariposa, and my understanding is, are they operating under the EOA? That might be a
You know, I
wild
don't
card. You
know
might not be
offhand.
right.
Do you happen to know, Kim? We believe so, but we'd have to verify that.
Okay, and the reason why I bring that up is just the monetary impact from them operating as an EOA to their bottom line versus what the current system that we're operating now to the impact to our general fund.
Mm-hmm.
And is there an impact to our general fund under the current system? It's a rhetorical question. Work with me.
Do you want to answer it? Or do you want
Currently, the ambulance enterprise fund is self-contained, so there's
Okay.
no, no negative impact to the general fund.
Okay, so if we stay with what we got, then it's all self-contained. If we chose as an organization to look down the road and say maybe we want to go to an EOA, there would be a potential impact to the general fund that we would need to make sure that we assess accordingly. Okay. That's that. Okay, thank you.
Great. Supervisor Campbell.
Thank you very much for the information. I know that when this issue was brought up about 3 years ago, we had reached out to the Mountain Valley EMS agency, which is a JPA between, I think it's Mariposa, Calaveras, Amador, and Alpine counties. We're kind of conspicuously not a part of that JPA. Like you look at a map of the regions represented, Tuolumne County is blank. I know that we had started communicating with that group 3 years ago when this issue was brought up. I was involved in some of those discussions, but after we were able to resolve the issue with Manteca, that issue was kind of dropped. But my question is it too soon, or is there any value in opening up a line of communication there? And would that would joining that group or entertaining that idea accomplish some of the things that we're talking about here?
So the answer is a little bit multifaceted. I'm also the EMS medical director for Mountain Counties EMS. What you would need as far as leadership wouldn't change. Each of those counties still have a contract with the provider in their county, which is separate from the Mountain County's EMS agency per se. So having your overall EMS agency, whether we combine with them or not, still would require contracting at the county level with your provider. So this discussion today doesn't really change. Combining has advantages and disadvantages, and we can talk about that. But that doesn't change the decision that needs to be made, nor the costs of the decision that needs to be made.
All right, so in my layman's terms of my mind, so we own the vehicles and the equipment. We could join with a JPA, but that we still would need to contract with someone to provide the staffing to operate the vehicles. That's not something that the JPA does.
Correct. So the JPA is
Can they-
doing the oversight and the policy and the protocols and all the things that basically myself and Katie Andrews do here. The need to do that would not change. Joining them would combine that effort. But the contracting for an ambulance company is done differently in all those 4 counties.
Well, and that brings up another question. So if we're looking at some of the other counties in our region, could we join with one of them to contract with the same group that they are contracting with, negotiate that together with another county to get a more advantageous rate for both counties? Because that would be kind of the way to bring in another county with us to renegotiate some of these things. I mean, I'm just throwing that out as a possibility or an idea for you to consider.
Yeah, if I could add in, and Lou Meyer, who's on the line, would probably be the best at this, but I'll just say that a lot of ambulance companies do have advantages when they cover contiguous counties because they have economies of scale. There's operational efficiencies that happen with that. But Lou, you're the expert at this.
Well, I agree with Dr. Freeman that can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I agree with Dr. Freeman that just going with a larger EMS agency doesn't change what's on the ground for you and what you need to do on a normal basis. Again, having 2 counties contracting with the same provider really doesn't solve that problem either.
For information on our region, ALA, American Legion Ambulance, is an EOA in Amador, is not in Calaveras. Each of those contracts are different with their counties, and each is negotiated with their Board of Supervisors. Alpine doesn't have its own EMS agency or ambulance provider that is basically done as mutual aid. And Mariposa is also very different, and again, negotiate with their Board of Supervisors. Mariposa itself, I did find out, is not an EOA. It's similar in the fact that they contract with their ambulance company. They do require a subsidy. The Board of Supervisors is subsidizing through general fund to have that ambulance company there, which is very common in many rural EOAs and one of our disadvantages, unfortunately.
Supervisor Holland?
Thanks. Okay. So something you brought up about the dispatching, you're saying that like when a call comes in from 911, our dispatcher here through the Sheriff's Department dispatches, but they literally have to pick up the phone and call another dispatch to send in today's technology. Why is it that why is that one dispatcher not sending all services needed at one shot? Because it seems like, in your guys' world, seconds count, I would assume. Or
Yeah,
minutes.
I would agree. And perhaps you have a comment. We had talked about CAD-to-CAD linkage, which is what you're talking about. I think it's kind of expensive. There may be some other technical barriers. I don't think it's been looked at in the counties, from what I can tell. It was recommended to us during interviews. So I think that's something worth investigating going forward.
Because my understanding was, I might be wrong about this, but I believe the Sheriff's Department just recently was doing the dispatching because, like usual, somebody in Calaveras County with a backhoe cuts through one line and the entire internet goes down, and we're like in this isolated little world over here. So would that, if one service was dispatching that to get them to the citizens, would that not be a more efficient model instead of, because if we're counting on one fiber optic line that runs the entire county, which is probably not a great strategy, but it's what we got, it would eliminate that problem, right?
Yeah, it would. I think and this is true, I was medical director in Santa Cruz County until recently. Most counties that use CAL FIRE for a county fire department, the CAL FIRE operates their own dispatch agency or dispatch center. Those typically do operate separately from the local PSAP. So it's not unusual to have 2 dispatch centers. That said, in Santa Cruz County, for example, all of the other fire departments other than CAL FIRE operated through a single dispatch center, including the sheriff's office and the EMS, and they all operated on the same frequency.
Because I'm assuming most counties it works, except for we have this like one little fiber line that connects everything that seems to constantly keep getting whacked over there in Calaveras County on their side. I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but they do like putting us in the dark over here.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's a possibility that it's happened. They could do it. We could figure something out that better serve the citizens and get everyone there. Okay. The second thing was I thought you had mentioned about the firefighters needing EMT training, and I know Nathan's here. I thought most of our firefighters were EMT trained. Is that? I thought that was a class they took when they were like going through their training program. And Nathan's here, so maybe he can answer that. But maybe I just misunderstood that.
Yeah, we did look at that, and I would leave it to the fire chief if he wants to address that.
So I'm actually shocked that you said they were not.
And just as a note for the board and public as well, I believe we have Bill and Manteca staff that are in the audience as well, if we need questions on that.
Great. Good morning. Nathan Gore. I'm Assistant Chief, CAL FIRE, Tuolumne Calaveras Unit. So a couple things to speak to in terms of the EMT requirement. We do have quite a few EMTs that are currently working in your cooperative agreement. However, it was a box that was not checked. You guys formalized the agreement to require them all to be EMT. They do have different varying levels of EMS, whether they are a public safety first aid, emergency medical responder, EMT, paramedic, so on and so forth. In reference to that, I'd also like to speak to the dispatch aspect, if I may, that was just mentioned. So dispatch is a requirement of the agreement written for the cooperative fire protection to provide command and control. So you almost have to separate those 2 aspects of it.
Okay.
In reference to EMT, say, our Station 63 up in the greater Groveland area, 100% of your staff that are assigned at that facility are EMT. I've been working in the back trying to get the data across the whole contract. I wasn't able to get it, but I can definitely follow up with that for you at a later date.
So most of the fire training, they have a basic EMT training class, right, as part of their training, or no?
EMR, so your local Columbia College Fire Academy. EMR is the segue into going into the fire academy. EMR or EMT or above.
Okay, and you guys are saying they should be fully EMT certified, I guess, or something like that? Is that
Exactly. The EMT level is not a requirement under the current contract. There also are some other fire agencies that may not have that level of EMT training. So bringing that up to, at least for Tuolumne County Fire, we think would be advantageous.
And how hard is it to get EMT certified for our current staff?
It's just a larger hour and training requirement.
Okay.
To create to that.
I think EMR is like 40 hours, maybe?
56.
56 now,
Yeah.
and EMT is around 200.
And the EMT requirement could be written into the contract if the board chose to.
Okay. I didn't realize they weren't. I thought they all were. Okay. Thanks, Nathan. Appreciate
All right, Supervisor Kirk.
Thank you. I'll try to make this quick. In the recommendation, there were some recommendations for dispatch, for shift duration, for financial reporting. So I get that they're recommendations. I guess if we go to the PMU model, I don't see anything in here that says that we're going to make that part of the RFP. So is that going to come back as, hey, we have this document, it's recommending these things, and we are going to include that in the RFP? I'm trying to get some clarification on that.
Yeah, great question. So this was intended as an EMS assessment, essentially what's happening right now. It kind of is morphing into now an RFP, given the changes that happened since we started. So this is really going to form the basis for writing the RFP. And so those recommendations that I have in here will be in the RFP in some form or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. On the community paramedicine topic that you brought up in one of the slides, looking at the call volume or the cases that are with the cases within those numbers, is that a recommendation or is that just more FYI?
The community paramedicine is a little bit of a challenge in California. It's an opportunity going forward that we have to keep in mind. But you really do need to have the call volume, the need for it to really justify it. It's taking people away from 911 calls and doing some other things that we think there's some opportunity. You certainly have significant staffing during the early part of the day before noon, where there may be an opportunity for staff to do some of those functions. And so to the extent that that gets integrated into the RFP, I think is going to be a further discussion. I will say that Alameda County made it a key part of their RFP, but that's a very different county.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I like the idea of it, just like you said, it's rural versus. Okay. Let me see here. In the comments regarding the EOA versus the PMU model, you said the EOA, most counties are doing this. Is that correct? So my question was, if most counties are doing this, then why wouldn't that weigh more heavily in our conversation?
Yeah, great question. So EOAs have advantages and disadvantages. The advantages for an EOA is you go to an ambulance company and say, hey, we're going to give you exclusive rights to operate in our county, but you have to serve the entire county. You got to meet our standards. And if you don't make a dime, that's on you. It's not on us. So they really take on the risk, and they have to decide whether it's worth bidding for. What we've seen in rural counties, for example, I was recently the EMS medical director in San Benito County. 67,000 people, 2 ambulances, just by comparison to your 5 to 6. In San Benito County, the county needs to pay a supplement to the ambulance contractor to be there because there isn't enough call volume or the payer mix isn't sufficient to pay for that. So in a rural county for an EOA, it's very likely that there will need to be some supplement that goes to the provider.
Okay. So basically, because of the rural county setting,
it's more difficult to serve. Right. That's right.
And then Dr. Freeman, I've worked with you on the committee years ago. I trust your opinion. What do you lean towards, the PMU or the EOA model?
That's a great question. I love the idea of exclusivity. The disadvantage financially is significant. One of the reasons why that's a disadvantage is we, as a government entity, wouldn't be the billers anymore. So overall, that enhanced rate that makes our community, essentially richer in what we can provide in EMS isn't there in the EOA model. The EOA model is a contractor that gets, 2/3 the cost. So they're providing the same service with less money, so the community overall doesn't have the advantage. So bottom line, PUM model for our community is better because we can make the whole system the best it can be with the financial resources we can get from that.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to add on that we would have the ambulance enterprise fund would be dissolved, so it wouldn't exist. I think it's important to note that.
And then, I'm sorry, I do have one more question that just came to mind. I don't know how this will all play out, but if we go with a different provider and have a new contract, obviously a lot of those folks who are working in the current model are local residents. So is there I'm assuming if another model comes in or another provider comes in, a lot of those people are going to be jumping ship and jumping into potentially that provider. So is that, I don't know how you answer that, but I'm just thinking.
There's a law in California that requires any incoming provider to use the current staff.
Current staffing.
It's also advantageous to use the current staff because they have the experience, they know the area. There's a lot of advantages that a new provider would get in hiring the staff. And the last part of it is that there has historically in the last several years been a paramedic and EMT shortage nationally. So a provider's not going to be able to come in with 100 people and say, oh, here's all the new people. They really do need to pick up the current staff who are all excellent providers, and we would want them to do that.
Okay, so to be clear, it would be the Manteca ambulance folks who are living up here would be part of that bringing in.
They would be offered the positions, and it would be up to them on, obviously they would have a choice in that, but we would think that they would choose to stay.
Sure. Just want to ask a question, but
yeah,
thank you for your response. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. One of my questions will be to see if Manteca District Ambulance would be willing to give a quick couple minutes on the letter of non-renewal and kind of where that stands. I wanted to ask on the presentation, it had the list of 3 options, the different types of categories, who pays. We have all those things right now. It's an enterprise fund. We don't pay. There were a few listed there that said county, and I didn't understand why, if this was to move in-house, those would not be through either A87s or direct billing or however it would function. Effectively, that we could direct an in-house enterprise fund, which has no county subsidy whatsoever, and passing those costs on. So can we pull that slide up? 3 models, all the rows.
Slide 14 with the table, maybe, or?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, on here, it has dispatch costs, county. Well, the county does run dispatch, but we charge A87s. We could charge an ambulance fund for dispatch costs, could we not?
The ambulance enterprise fund, I don't know if you can hear me. So annually, the annual ambulance enterprise fund is actually contributing about $484,000 to dispatch.
Right. So it wouldn't be a county dispatch cost, really, unless the
It would
cost
be
exceeds
yeah,
that.
it wouldn't be general fund.
Right. So some of these seem like they're making assumptions that aren't black and white, like they have to be that way. It says like billing and financial risk on the county. As an enterprise fund, if there's a financial risk, it maintains a fund balance. You can adjust the rates. We would ultimately hold the bag. But, I mean, is that correct? Same thing. The billing could be A87 and not on the county.
Right. I think we were just trying to show that, this would not, the impact to the county.
Okay.
Moderate, not so much, high risk.
And how much, I know we've made some capital purchases within that ambulance enterprise fund. How much is the fund balance currently standing at of what's kind of sitting in the bank? And while you're looking at that, I wanted to ask, we have fire and we have EMS. We've talked about medical billing. One of the things in my impression is fire can bill or ambulances can bill, but if both attend a scene, they cannot necessarily both bill for these types of services. So I'm wondering if this was more combined under the same umbrella, that would that make sense where they could, say, provide a reimbursement for ALS services? I've seen this firsthand recently. It's amazing what they do, even as fire personnel and medical, where a portion of what the ambulance billing could be would go to supporting fire costs, which 80% often are medical response. Is that a clear question? I know that's kind of complicated, but if they're under the same umbrella, can that support fire costs in medical response?
Yeah, I think I understand your question, and I think Brenda's might be more of an expert than I am on that.
So yes, in the short answer, yes. In some counties are doing that where the funds that come in from reimbursement of EMS calls in the system, a portion of that goes to the fire agencies to help offset the costs of their personnel and their operations. What can happen with that, however, is that it raises the cost to the end user.
Right.
Because it costs X amount for an ambulance to operate and to put people on the road, to have that availability going on 24/7. And that amount of money is not, or that amount of cost is not reduced by having, necessarily, by having the fire agencies participate in the way you suggest, unless having the fire agencies participate can reduce the number of ambulances that are needed.
And that's what I wanted to get at is not so much if an ambulance and a fire truck engine go out and respond, but if a fire personnel do a medical response, an ambulance does not show up, do they have a billing structure for reimbursement? Right now, that is free, but if you were to call an ambulance, it's a huge cost. Whereas if it was distributed between all the medical calls, so that's what I'm getting at is the latter situation, not taking from the ambulance, but billing for fire response fees in public safety medical.
And I don't have enough experience with that particular model, but Lou might. He just popped up on the screen.
Good.
Jaron, can I add on?
Sure, Supervisor Holland.
If we went that way, what you're talking about, because I know what you're saying, would our firefighters then have to be EMT to qualify to do the billing, or just basic EMR? Because I see what Jaron's saying, like if fire can pick up, I don't want to say the slack, but if they can pick up some of the calls where an ambulance doesn't have to respond, is there a billing opportunity in there? I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah,
right?
that they could be mutually supportive, and whether EMT too would be the same level of training for the ALS deployment or kind of a lower level. But if they could do some of these even advanced life-saving support, I've seen the IV, they have the defibrillator, they put out the, I forget the device, but the chest compressions machine. A lot of that was deployed without an ambulance ever on site. It's very impressive. I think I got the answer I needed, though. I want to give Lou an explanation, because I know right now we're not making that decision. We're just looking at options. What I wanted to know was, yes, it's possible, or no, it's not possible. So, Lou?
So the caution I give you is you're currently receiving PPG&T funds, is that correct?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. There are restrictions on the use of these funds, and they are restricted to the use of the ambulance transport component. So you couldn't take those funds and use them to support fire department non-transport services.
Thank you. And did we have the number on the fund balance?
Yeah, and ending fund balance at the end of the 24-25 fiscal year was $5,587,000.
Okay. And I wanted to ask one last thing. This is related to when we had that discussion, Supervisor Campbell, I think, was mentioning a lot of that issue. AB 716, I believe, was in the legislature. It was talking about the billing. So we know, just acknowledging, Medi-Cal does not pay the cost of what it takes to provide that service. Private does. So private is overbilled to cover the other side, making it a stable system. It sucks, but that is the way that it is, and it's out of our control for Medi-Cal reimbursement. With that said, we were talking about that when it was proposed. That was, I believe, passed and chaptered 2024. And so the one thing I wanted to ask on that is how does that affect this discussion from kind of when three of us would have been involved in it, where we were billing that way? How is that spread? If we cannot overbill anybody for the cost of that, and some of them are too low, is that where the subsidy is forced to come in? And is there any way around that that's more passing that cost on so it's equal?
Yeah, I'll say that this has been a struggle for EMS. I think, this is probably the existential crisis for EMS in the current model right now.
Mm-hmm.
Medi-Cal pays $118 for a transport, paramedic transport. The cost to provide that service is probably double that. So every time an ambulance runs on a Medi-Cal patient, they're losing money. They're losing money whether they run a call or not, but they don't get reimbursed through that. And it's difficult with Medicare as well. So the government payers, it's fixed. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit. Fortunately, the GEMT that you have here adds a big bonus to that. But you're right, the EOA model, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing counties subsidize.
And last question on that would be, do we still get the GEMT if we were to do this third service internal enterprise fund model?
Yes.
Over the EOA?
Yes.
Okay. That's all of my questions. Unless there's any more, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Any members of the public would like to speak on this item, please do so and come forward. And definitely inviting any folks from MDA would be appreciated for some context.
Still working on my public speaking. So.
Doing great. Good morning.
But, I'm just an outsider.
And a little closer to the mic if you don't mind for the folks at home.
I'm just an outsider looking into the system of ambulance. Do any of you know where the Chicken Ranch industrial plant is? No. Okay, well, that's one of the dispatch calls they got the other night. They needed the EMTs respond to Chicken Ranch Industrial. So the system is not very beneficial at all. Earlier this year, Tecumseh initiated a public safety emergency to initiate the REMS mapping system, and it's about 50% accurate. So you have ambulances going to the wrong neighborhoods, going to the wrong houses, or not being able to find the location at all the time, every single day. So retention of these employees, the EMTs, are very, very important. People will die if we just rely on this mapping system. There's something else I was going to say. Another thing with Tecumseh is I don't think they're operating under the Brown Act with their meetings. They currently just changed their meetings to private and confidential. So the next dispatch meeting, you have to either be invited or be a part of the member. So I think that needs to be looked at and changed. And as far as CAL FIRE becoming paramedics, I think it is an emergency that they do it. Metaflights cannot lift off unless a paramedic gets on site and calls them in. So say fire gets on scene, 20 minutes before an ambulance gets there, they can't call an ambulance in. You have to wait till a paramedic gets on scene before the Metaflight will lift off. So people will die for that cause alone. I think it's very important to get CAL FIRE and paramedic status as well. All right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have additional public comment on this item? Wonderful. Bill, thank you.
Good morning,
Good
Board.
morning.
Bill Caldera with Manteca Ambulance. Haven't been here in a while, actually. Supervisor, this June 30th will be year 5 of the 5 year ago where this letter to the county came and was handled a little differently. I think we've all matured and grown up a bit and looked at data a lot better, probably because of some of the influence you folks have. I'd like to cover, I won't say they're mistakes or misnomers, but I do have a few notes. The PPG EMT, as long as the county owns the cars, gives the rides, and does the billing, they get $1,000 on their public provider GEMT. Manteca Ambulance, west of here, we get $100 as a private nonprofit. When this was set up, it was, here's an ambulance, it has an EMT and a paramedic in it, here's all the equipment. When we started here in 1986, we got all the old ambulances from the private companies that went out of business. Morrison's ambulance up in Cold Springs, we got Pine Mountain Lake's old ambulance, and we were very, what you call, austere. We would go to calls and put them in a pickup. That's where you find a lot of people in Tuolumne County going to the doctor. They're out on Cottonwood Road cutting wood, hit their leg with a chainsaw, and we didn't have Starlink. We just had flashing lights. And that's honestly a little bit of the case still up here. It's the kind of mountain mentality. As we see everything on the web, or this gentleman before, I think I can't hear back there. That's my age, but I believe he was talking about Chicken Ranch and the ambulance, Tuolumne County, and our Manteca personnel. Some of us have been here a long time, but during COVID, we did have a huge turnover. We carry 50 people up here. The other thing is I wanted to share about infrastructure and how my interpretation as a taxpayer and a paramedic interpret what this ambulance has done in this relationship, regardless of where it goes as the world changes. Okay, so 1980s, we had a county hospital. Early 80s, we had a third hospital, Sierra Hospital. My kids were born there. I was not. And we could take people a lot of places. We didn't have any specialty care, but we did have as physicians that would call the ambulance. And they'd be at the patient's home, not in a buggy, wasn't that long ago. But they were there, and they'd say, go out and do this and take them to the hospital. If she stops breathing, let her rest in peace. Yes, sir. And that was the scope of a paramedic back then. We did do home health. Now home health, there are so many people on the internet following us and commenting, and home health care, we don't have the volume.
And I appreciate that. Since this isn't public comment, we got to cut it at 3, but hopefully you'll be available if we have questions or comments that we might be able to ask.
Okay. So
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
I'll be a little briefer. Can I finish my
No,
bullet?
unfortunately, it's
Okay.
3 minutes, yeah, since
Sorry.
we're in the public comment section.
All right.
Yeah. If we did it in my comment section, those can go on forever, as we know, so. There we go. Good morning.
Hello. My name is Don Nessel, and I thank you for the opportunity. I've recognized during this presentation that there's a whole lot of talent over here, And then Bill stepped up, which has a whole lot of experience back there. And I'd suggest that the folks over here would want to connect with Bill back there to talk about how this could be more efficient. He obviously has transformed the ambulance service to what it is today. I don't know if he's retired or what. Lives just down the block, I should know. But nonetheless, it's very important to use this experience in making these decisions. You guys probably already noticed that these folks, especially that guy, gave a really, really good presentation. I understood it all to the best of my ability because he really organized it well. So in making decisions, and I'm not sure how it all goes with, are they asking for money, or I'm not really sure, but nonetheless, I would make sure that I tapped into them and him to make sure I made the right decision as to whatever you're making a decision about here. So the other thing is, I pay a lot of money for supplemental insurance, and if I was you guys, I would write a letter to those guys because they are ripping me off and ripping the ambulance service off and anybody else who puts in a bill because they collect huge money from me and my wife, but don't pay out anything towards nothing. And so I believe private insurance companies are the number one villain in this situation, and they need to be brought to terms to paying fair to what they are billed in addition to Medi-Cal or Medicare or whatever. But once again, thank you for a great presentation. What a great bunch of people they are. And Bill, thank you for all you've done over the past, let's see, he said 86, so we got 14, almost 40 years of service, making things look great. The ambulances are beautiful. The personnel are awesome. I met them when they came to try to revive my father-in-law, God rest his soul, when he had already died of a heart attack, but they didn't give up. Nonetheless, we have a great ambulance service. I don't know if we're thinking of changing that, but I would think twice about changing the model that Bill Caldera set up and which these people have supported.
Great, thank you. Do we have additional public comment on this item? Going once, going twice. All right, seeing none, we will bring it back to the board for comment. There is, for the recommendation from staff to maintain the public-private system model and issue an RFP. But I think you're also probably receiving direction on some of the additional information we've received today on it. I know personally for me, I like option 3. It will take a while to do, so I like the idea of a temporary extension on terms we can negotiate, and I like the approach of looking at how we can integrate ALS with fire, do a fully internal to the county. I do not like for-profit ambulance systems. I don't think it works very well, and I think it only hurts customers. So that would be my direction. It's not the current recommendation.
Can we
Yeah?
say something? First of all, Manteca has put in their notice to quit, and we've tried negotiating. There's no movement there. Second, with the PUM model, fire can bid on that. And given the perception that that might be the most efficient way to go, it very well could be the winner of that, maintaining the model, but also having that efficiency built in. So that is a potential outcome of an RFP. Number 3, not everything that happens on scene can be billed. So when fire does go out to things, most of that can't be billed. Some can, and things may change. There's been movement toward more and more being reimbursable, but for the most part, the 80% of volume they do on scene with a medical patient isn't reimbursable.
Sorry, can we clarify, ambulance reimbursable or general reimbursable? Because I'm aware of other counties implementing first responder fees pretty commonly that are seemingly reimbursable.
Some are, but as far as what the insurance will reimburse, charging the person, so that was my final thing. I don't ever want someone to call 911, to avoid calling 911 because they believe they're going to get a bill.
Right.
I want anybody who has an emergency to feel like they can call who they need to call and not have any fear that there's going to be a problem with that financially. People will die.
Right.
They do think twice. So I would caution about that being a model for how to make this sustainable.
I appreciate that. I know coming onto the board, one of the things was the fund was not sustainable. We had to increase the ambulance rates 50%, and that was hitting the subsequent private insurance much harder than most residents. And so it's not about how much, it is about who pays, which right now is extremely skewed and very shaky under 716. I'm very worried about that. So I do appreciate the sentiment. I think that's not what this is.
Chairman,
Yes, Supervisor Campbell.
Jump in real quick. So I respect and agree with your position about the goal in the future of bringing it in-house, and that's something that we should look at. But I think in the time being, since we have Manteca looking at leaving by summer next year, there's no reason why we can't, at some point later, after maintaining status quo, going with that option, at some point later looking at bringing operations in-house. The problem I would have with giving direction on that right now is that I don't know what the cost would be. And I'm assuming, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's going to be quite expensive to do that. And until we know that, I would be in support of the PUM plan that's laid out. I think that if we could give direction to maintain status quo, but also look at other options in the future, talk to the Mountain Counties JPA, look at some of these other options, but maintain status quo operations so that we can get through to the summer and in the short term after that. Does that work? Is that consistent with what you're recommending?
Absolutely. And we did do a little bit of a cost analysis on the third service, just on, number of employees, estimated number of costs for salaries. It was about 5.6 million, but that does not include long-term PERS liability if they ended up being PERS. Doesn't include workers' comp. We'd have to do an analysis on that. It doesn't, malpractice insurance. So all of that is not factored in. That is just employees and salaries.
Now, revenue into that is, correct me if I'm wrong, borrowing the last year, which was a weird year because of one time, that was about 8.9 to 9 million. So we're talking 5.6 million in cost for employment. There are costs not factored in, but we're also talking about headspace on that is probably around $4.3 million, right? I mean, there's a substantial, or $4 million extra of what's current revenue currently being billed in current budget and service.
If we did the third service,
right?
On addition, yeah,
because 5.6 is a lot, but there is 9 million coming in currently with the current fees and the current model.
Right.
So
Can I interject and ask a quick question?
Yeah, Supervisor Kirk.
If we're to comments, I think it'd be appropriate to get the full board's comments instead of just going back and forth, because there may be a majority who wants to go a different route, and we should hear from everybody first.
Yeah, so those are my comments. That would be my.
So my comments would be PMU as well.
PUM?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but with the short time frame that we're dealing with, PMU. PUM. I keep saying P.
Right. I don't know. And I think we are saying the same thing. An extension would be required.
So I'm
Supervisor Griever?
I agree with Supervisor Kirk. I'm in favor of the PUM, the current model. I think so. It sounds like when we're going to do an RFP, correct? That's kind of what I'm feeling, that we're going to send out an RFP to fill this void that's going to occur in June of next year. If
the request is to issue an RFP,
right.
We will be held by who actually bids.
Gotcha. So I would like to actually see 2 RFPs potentially. One for the entire county, and then one for North County and South County. One of the biggest geographics is one of our largest hurdles in getting an ambulance over to the Groveland area or even up into the high country is problematic if Medic 41 is off the hill already, et cetera. However, we do see Mercy in the Groveland area very often backfilling and assisting. So I would like to have 2 RFPs presented, one for the entire county to see how they would address the South County and the high countries, and then secondly, one that would address both the North County and the South County, the Don Pedro, the area as well, to see if we can have a better business model for the geographics of those two areas. To a comment that was made a little bit earlier, or not wasn't made, a statement that was made earlier, Mariposa, I asked them real quick, they pay $300,000 out of their general fund for their current business model, so that's what their current hit is, so that's something for us to be aware of. I kind of like Supervisor Brandon was saying that if we stick with the PUM model, I would like the RFP to look at potentially being a 3-year contract. And then that way we can explore the EOA or the third party in those 3 years. So we would know we're going to be forward thinking here. So we know in 3 years what we've got. So it gives us some flexibility. The EMRs and EMTs, those are a little bit more of an issue when it comes to actual your average, let me back that up, your beat cop, your standard first responder who arrives on the scene is going to be an EMR. I chose not to be an EMT because I don't like needles and blood, and so thank you for all of those guys. But I think that is something that we can use to address in the RFP as well, so that people, the first responders who arrive on scene might be able to assess the situation a little bit better or differently than an EMR who arrives on scene. And when I arrived on scene, it would be like send everybody because it's bad. When it turned out it was just a Band-Aid, right? So training and opportunity there. So my recommendation is we stay with the PUM, and then we create one RFP for the county, one RFP for North County and South County, while we explore a third option or another option in 3 years from now.
Yeah, and I do agree. So one thing that I think might be relevant to that is we have the fund balance in there.
Time out. Can I call pause a second?
Sure, Supervisor Kirk.
We do this every board meeting. As the chair, you need to manage the meeting, but you need to let every single supervisor have a conversation, give their comments, and then you collectively bring it back together. What you do is each one of us has a comment, and then you interject your proposal, your comments. This is why board meetings takes long. So
Supervisor,
please let Supervisor Holland make
respectfully, I looked over to Supervisor Holland. There was not a comment, or at least eye contact. I waited, and then I made a comment. I appreciate that, and I agree with your input. Did you have a comment, or? I'm good. I'm ready to vote. Okay. So I was only going to say my recommendation on the follow-up to that would be during that 3 year, whether we need 3 years, there is funding to draft this up and bring back a proposal, I think, on a more aggressive timeline than 3 years would require, because it won't have to be all on our staff. We have funding to be able to set aside. That's all I was going to add.
Yeah, but to that, I picked 3 years only because I don't know if any organization is going to sign on to a short contract. They're going to look at something, they're going to say, well, if it's going to, they're not going to invest all their time and energy and training and everything for a 1 year process. If we say 3 years, then they have some stability, they know what they're looking at, and then it gives this board, which may or may not be the same board in 3 years, an opportunity to kind of assess it as well. So I just think we don't need to rush it, right? And I'm hoping the current provider comes back to the table and says, hey, with this RFP, I'm interested, and find out what their true concerns are so we can address them. Because I haven't heard that. I haven't heard what the true concerns are from that organization, why they're walking. I mean, we have the letter, but I think it's important that we give everybody a little extra time.
Right. And yes.
If we were to go down the EOA model, getting the proposal into the state and getting it approved takes at least 18 months. So it is important to, if we're considering those other options, give that appropriate timeline its due diligence.
Thank you. And since we've had feedback from everybody, say if you do have it, you'll have an opportunity. But the recommendation from staff is basically two things. It is maintaining the current PMU, or now you got me doing it, PUM system, public-private system, and issuing an RFP under that current model. What was discussed a bit was if we would want to amend that to be any further direction on something coming back. So I think if there's no further discussion, we'd be looking for a motion.
So, Chair, I'd move to approve staff recommendation. Was there anything you wanted to add on to that?
I would like to see an item come back for the internal model and directing that while we're doing this RFP. And that's what I heard most of us say.
I'm going to just make a flat motion to approve the staff recommendation in the board memo.
I'll second it.
So we have a first by Supervisor Campbell. We have a second by Supervisor Holland. I'd like to make an amendment to that as a substitute motion, which would be that same motion, but to direct staff to bring back the internal, whether it's PUM or a third service model, with that using ambulance enterprise funds to draft out what that would look like. So substitute motion, is there a second? Seeing no second, it dies, and we're back to the original motion. So all those in favor?
Just point of clarification, are we talking about an RFP for just the one? For Supervisor Campbell's motion?
So it would be to maintain the current public-private system model and issue a request for proposal.
And I'd like to expand upon that, is that we have that they bring back two RFPs, one for the full county and one for North County and South County.
Would you like to amend it, or would you like to make a substitute motion?
That's not.
An RFP is an RFP. It's just a document. I'm just asking that we have them bring back two. So if you're good with them coming back to us with an RFP, then we could just say, hey, can you bring us two instead of one? I mean,
I think would have to give very specific direction, because it'd be two RFP processes, correct?
And I just want to clarify, you would want us to bring the RFP back before it gets issued?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Two.
that's not what you recommended, correct?
We were just recommending one RFP, because again, just for clarification, we cannot extend the current contract. That we tried to negotiate, that did not go through, so we do have to go out for an RFP. One RFP was what we recommended, but if the board is directing us to do two, we could do that as well.
So all to say is
You're
no,
saying
that is
the
not
board is, if the board is directing you to do two, you can do as well, but that's not what you recommend.
Correct. We didn't
Okay.
think of that.
So,
So,
so the motion stands as is. I'm not opposed to. I mean, they're hearing the conversation. I'm sure that they'll take that in, and they can come back to us with some recommendations on that.
Okay.
But for the time being, we have a proposal, and I think it's sound.
Okay.
So it would not be, it's just issuing an RFP. It would not yet be the two. So that's the standing motion, to be clear. So are you doing a substitute motion, or are we continuing with the vote?
Why are we extending this out? We have a motion and a second.
Because
It's
Supervisor,
time to call for a question.
I'm asking if Supervisor Griefer was trying to make that a substitute.
It seems that you have an opinion about this that you're trying to shoehorn into the conversation. We have a motion and a second.
I don't have
It's
an
time to
opinion on
proceed
this at
on the
all. This
vote.
was brought by Supervisor Griefer.
Okay, well, we have a motion and
I
a
know,
second.
but you're extending it, and you were asking questions.
You're
Please-
saying I'm
please
extending it.
let me manage the meeting.
You're interjecting after every
Supervisor
single comment.
Campbell.
This is a very simple thing.
So Steve, I'm assuming, thank you, that's all I needed. All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Campbell. We have a second by Supervisor Holland on the staff recommendation. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, abstaining. All right, passes unanimously. So with that, it is 11:07. Again, I know that some of the folks in the audience have been waiting a while. I was thinking that that would be a little bit of a faster item, but we did have a really good presentation, so I appreciate that from staff and our consultants. Thank you for being here. If we're fine to power through, do we need a break? Let's do a 5-minute break to 11:12, and then we'll reconvene. It will be on item 2. All right, please read item 2.
Item number 2, adopting Resolution 92-25, declaring October 14, 2025 as the Free Speech and Public Service Remembrance Day in Tuolumne County.
Great. Thank you. I did pull this item. I'll only shortly say I appreciate the work of Supervisor Kirk and Campbell on this. The one thing that did stick with me that I would have wanted to see changed was October 14th is Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, there are many holidays that overlap. They are not, the day can only be one thing, but there is within the same month a free speech week that is an established holiday. My recommendation would be we, as a friendly recommendation to the authors, change it to be the free speech, which I believe is October 20th to 27th, let me check, or 28th, 26th. Thank you, that would have been an 8-day week. And And just, it'd be a friendly amendment, otherwise I'd be ready to move and vote on that.
And just
Supervisor Griefer?
Yeah, just one point. Indigenous Day floats, so this year it happened to land on his birthday, but the following years it would not be.
Right.
It's a floating holiday, so, because we had gotten some comments that it was a set day, and it's just not. It's a floating holiday, which we recognize.
Yeah, some are date, some are week, some are.
No, like next year it's the 11th, and the year after that's the 12th or what have you. So it's not, it just happened to land on that day this year, I guess.
So that'd be my recommendation to the authors. If that's fine, if there's no support for that, I'd be ready to move on to public comment and have a motion.
I think that's a really good amendment because it's consistent with something that exists, and it makes it less, I guess, less arbitrary that we're just picking a day, that we're actually connecting it with something that's larger than the local resolution. So I would be supportive of that. So you would, instead of saying resolution declaring October 14th, it would be resolution declaring the week of October 20th as Free Speech Public Service Remembrance Week in Tuolumne County.
Yep. And again, my credit and kudos, otherwise no changes.
Okay. I would be
Supervisor Kirk?
in agreement with that.
I want to hear from public comment first. I'm just doing a little research
Copy that.
since this is new. So I'm just.
All right, seeing not any additional comment on that, we'll move to public comment and then bring it back to the board to see if there is more discussion on that point. So any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, I know you were super ready. I didn't even get through the spiel yet. You'll have 3 minutes to be able to come up and address your board on this. And we do ask pro or con on any of these items. The folks are respectful to the speakers. We don't want to necessarily have any boos, so we also ask there not be applause and kind of that. It is addressing the board so that we can make sure we're listening. Anyway, with that, please begin. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Tuolumne County does not need this resolution. It reminds me of last winter when Supervisor Ryan Campbell put forth a resolution denouncing hate crimes after a terrible assault had been committed against a gay man who was lured to a vacant apartment and severely beaten by an adult man and 2 teenagers. Supervisor Anaya Kirk voted against the anti-hate speech resolution. It failed, and then he put forth his own resolution stating that we all have rights under the 14th Amendment. A meaningless gesture, in my opinion. Once again, he is putting forth a substitute amendment to replace Supervisor Griefer's resolution honoring Charlie Kirk. Mr. Griefer withdrew it after some public outcry, and now Mr. Kirk seeks to replace it with his own resolution declaring Charlie Kirk's birthday each year as a day paying tribute to free speech. However, free speech is already a basic tenet of the Constitution. We do not need a resolution to make that so. And Charlie Kirk was not a champion of free speech. He encouraged students with conservative views to turn in their liberal professors. His professor watch list, which resulted in some professors getting doxxed, harassed, and even fired for holding liberal views he disagreed with, is the opposite of free speech. He derided viewpoints at odds with his own. He denigrated the abilities of Black women. He disparaged LGBT people. He mocked feminists. And he repeatedly alleged there was a war on white people in this country. Having Charlie Kirk's birthday set aside as a day to honor free speech seems hypocritical. Do not use this resolution to pretend that Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech. I remind you that you are a nonpartisan board. I urge you to vote no on this resolution.
Thank you. Additional public comment on this item? Good morning.
Good morning. Here I am again. California resident for almost 76 years now. Born, raised, lived, and worked here all my life. More importantly, I would categorize myself as a Christian constitutional conservative. I actually want to speak about what transpired with the number of this resolution your last meeting regarding Charlie Kirk. I would highly encourage us to have a day to remember and honor Mr. Charlie Kirk. I have listened to many of his speeches and many of his times on campus with thousands of young people listening. I haven't heard anything he said that has anything to do with the types of things that he's been accused of by folks who don't want his name mentioned. I would remind you guys that in the meeting that you had, let's see, I can't see it, my notes. I'm sorry, my notes were pretty messed up because I've been recuperating from a little surgery. And anyway, oh yes, here it is. October 7th, you honored the life and legacy of Helen Coates. If you hadn't put her name in there, what would it be without the person's name? What would our remembrance be of Martin Luther King Jr. without his name? What would the remembrance of Mother Teresa be if we couldn't say their names? Removing people's names gives you, dehumanizes you, and causes some people to decide it's okay to do away with you because they don't agree with you. Charlie Kirk spoke about being a Christian. He spoke about the foundation of our nation, which was fully Bible-based. Our Constitution is based on biblical values. Our Constitution, the Mayflower Compact, based on biblical values, and for the purpose, the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith. I don't have time to read all of it. I believe here in Tuolumne County, truth and freedom has suffered a loss because of that. The freedom for everyone who would just wish to honor Charlie Kirk has been taken away from us. And there is no compromise with evil.
And ma'am, that's 3 minutes. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Claudia Puccinelli. I've lived here most of my life since 1976. I came here as a special ed teacher. Anyway, there is a reason to remove his name, and it is because he was a very partisan individual. He supported Trump wholeheartedly. He embraced those values. And the reason that there were so many people here on October 21st was because it is people like me who are Democrats that feel attacked by this current administration. We are being called traitors. We're being called really bad names by our president. And so people like me don't like that, and we tie Charlie Kirk into that because he was such a supporter of Trump. So he was very partisan. But my main objection to the resolution is not the words, it's simply the date. Why don't we just use my birthday? Or why don't we just use the date that June 14th, when Melissa Hartman and her husband were assassinated and John Hoffman and his wife were shot and seriously injured. So there are other dates that could be used. But if the purpose of this resolution is bipartisan, then it needs to be totally bipartisan.
Great, thank you. We have additional comments on this item. Good morning.
My name is Ann Milberg, and I used to work for the county. I'm retired. And I want to talk about the same thing. A lot of the people have already made comments about Charlie Kirk and picking October 14th because that was his birthday. But I think when you're going to honor somebody, some of the things that should be qualities of a person who's honored is someone who treats others with dignity and respect and gives back to a community or a nation. Now, does Charlie Kirk deserve to be honored at all? And I say no. He preached and promoted hate, fear, and discrimination of anyone who wasn't a white Christian nationalist. He did not treat others with dignity or respect, which included women like Michelle Obama and Ketanji Jackson Brown, who he said didn't deserve to be there, that they were only there because they were DEI recipients. He didn't treat people of color, immigrants, LGBTQ, or any trans people with dignity and respect. He said about a black pilot, he didn't know if he would get on a plane with them because he didn't think they were qualified. So let's compare Charlie Kirk's qualifications. He dropped out of community college after one semester, and he tried to do some education online, and he didn't finish that. So let's not have him talk about other people's qualifications. And the other reason, and because I work in the schools and I do art projects with different grades, I think that this resolution, you want to have the schools to observe it. Well, to me, Charlie Kirk is not a good example. He's not a good role model because in the schools here, they're trying to teach and promote kindness, respect, and tolerance for others, even if you disagree. And the irony of this assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is terrible, I don't think anybody should be assassinated for their beliefs, but it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with that the young man who killed him followed Nick Fuentes, who is even further right. And Nick Fuentes wanted to have the Epstein files opened and unredacted, and Charlie Kirk originally agreed with him, and then he got talked to by Trump's people and backed off. And that's why that kid killed him. And just to conclude, Charlie Kirk said that deaths are sometimes worth it or are okay as long as we get to keep our Second Amendment rights. So if you live by the sword, sometimes you're going to die by the sword.
Thank you. Do we have additional public comments? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kim Tracy, and I live in Jamestown. I just have some quotes from Charlie Kirk. Direct quotes. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Martin Luther King Jr. was an awful person. White privilege is a myth. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are anti-white, and the Great Replacement is not a theory, it's a reality. But most ironically, yes, people die from gun violence, but that's the price of freedom. Please vote no on on the adoption of the resolution 9225.
Thank you. We have additional public comment. Welcome back.
Thank you. I think this is so stupid. So thank you, Pat Cervelli. I thought your comments were very good. So your jurisdiction is Tuolumne County, and you are to be acting on behalf of Tuolumne County and its citizens. I couldn't find anywhere where Charlie Kirk was born here, Charlie Kirk grew up here, Charlie Kirk went to school here, Charlie Kirk came to visit us, Charlie Kirk did amazing things in our community. I'm sorry that he was murdered, but we have a lot of our own citizens that have been murdered. I don't see that we're honoring them. And in the first week of July, we had 2 DUI deaths. And one of them was the wife of the DUI driver. Now, I don't know what her circumstances are, but she seems kind of like an innocent victim to me. We're not honoring her. And you were elected to a nonpartisan position. This is supposed to be a nonpartisan board. And holy moly, you can't jump up fast enough, some of you, to bring partisan issues into this board. Knock it off.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Misuse of resolutions. I was going to talk earlier, but it didn't seem to match. There seems to be a number of ways resolutions can be misused. The first misuse, exceeding legal authority when a county passes a resolution on matters reserved for the state or federal government. The Charlie Kirk resolution was not a Tuolumne County issue. The President of the United States had proclaimed October 14th, 2025 as a national day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk. He, quote, "I call on the American people to assemble on this day in their respective places of worship, there to pay homage to Charlie's memory." That was all just one day. We as a county government have nothing to say about assembling in respective places of worship. The President said it, he made it a federal issue, and we would be exceeding our legal authority to mess around with the President Trump's proclamation. Second misuse, trying to pass a resolution without proper public comment. The Charlie Kirk resolution was not meant to be discussed by the public because it was placed on the consent calendar. Fortunately, Supervisor Campbell pulled it, and the public then was able to make comments, but not before Supervisor Kirk introduced a new resolution claiming he had change of mind, a stretch of his ideas about the previous motion. Note, this motion was not seen by the public before the meeting started. As our grand jury has noted about the hate crime resolution, it appeared that 3 board members had prearranged support for the alternate resolution. Twice now we have seen this. Supervisor Griefer and Holland, without making any comments, agreed to allow Supervisor Kirk to move forward. Wow. I asked County Council, and I know that you're new to our county, but please help this board to follow procedure. After 2 hours, the motion was tabled, and now a new resolution has been put on the consent calendar. You would think the board would have learned to put it on the agenda, the right agenda, and here we go again. A third misuse of resolutions is to push partisan agendas unrelated to county governance. The Charlie Kirk resolution was not related to Tuolumne County governance. Most of the county had not heard of this man. It should have never been on the agenda in the first place. Whoever's in charge of reviewing the agenda, whether it is the chair of the board or county council, please start reviewing the future agendas. We seem to be wasting a lot of taxpayers' money for these last-minute resolutions, or are they being used as a distraction from the real work that needs to be done while our county struggles through this 3-vote pack prearranged crisis? The major consequences of these abuses and misuses are they erode trust in county government. And maybe that is the goal of some of the board members. Chaos ensues and people get hurt. Please remember the 26.
Thank you. And that's 3 minutes. All right. Do we have additional public comment? Good morning.
Good morning. I already mentioned a couple of things. It'd been nice, would have been nice to have had something in this resolution about the fact that Charlie Kirk was killed based on lies, many of which you've heard repeated. Last time I mentioned Buck Angel, a trans man, who related that he was treated with kindness and respect by Charlie Kirk, but the assassin, why, he's protecting his trans boyfriend. Why? Because Charlie Kirk hates those people. He's all about transgenocide. Totally false. He was murdered based on lies. I mentioned Amir Odom, a black gay man who attributes some of his success to Charlie, his encouragement, working with him, helping him out, because the man's not racist or was not racist, didn't hate gay people. While we're on the subject, I'll point out the fact that Trump knowingly put Rick Grinnell on his cabinet the first time around, openly gay. I think Besant is gay. I know that Tammy Bruce is a lesbian. Gee, I thought he hated those people. Funny he's putting him in his cabinet, kind of like he put Dr. Ben Carson in there, a black man for HUD on the first go-around. Now we got Kash Patel, we got a person of color for his his VP's wife. I could go on, not enough time. Yeah, racist? I don't think so. The Charlotte riot? For some reason, the media left out the fact he said, when he's talking about good people on both sides, I'm not talking about the racists, the white supremacists or the neo-Nazis who should be thoroughly condemned. Nobody knows he said that part, seems like. But if you listen to the speech in context, you can hear it. For those of you who think I'm wrong, I challenge you to go check it out. Would have been nice, like I said, we have a whole lot of people spreading lies. To have that mentioned, that's why the man was killed, and people not bothering to listen to the other side and to come here and say things, but oh yeah, the women, the DEI women, okay, black ones, well, they actually said that it was because of DEI is where they were. Okay, that was their words. There are a whole lot of things taken out of context. Anyway, but I'm out of time.
Thank you. Morning and welcome back.
Thank you very much. So I just realized something. Almost every time I've come here, it's because you guys have decided to vote on some resolution. And I'm thinking, why would you do that? I agree with Carol. Why invite all the drama? If somebody wants to make a statement about Charlie Kirk and how grieved you are about him dying, I mean, I think, oh, my gosh, the people that are walking around dressed like Charlie Kirk with blood on their neck, if I ran into one of those guys, I'd beat him up. That's ridiculous, but it has nothing to do with you. You are the county supervisors. You are managing the county in a nonpartisan way, as some of the women spoke. And I watched the previous group of people that got up and spoke at the 23rd. What an eloquent bunch of people talking about the situation. Hey, it's great to see all this and have people give their opinions, but the number one thing is, why are you doing this? This is ridiculous. All it does is cause more partisan situations. It causes me to come and say, you're wrong, or, oh, yeah, right on. But what does that have to do with county government? We all have moral standings. We all have things that we believe in. We all have people we believe in. That's awesome. But it has nothing to do with managing the government. The county government, fix the roads, as you've heard many times. Work out the conflicts with septic systems and water systems and so forth. But working on resolutions that divide us is ridiculous. I've been here several times because of the homosexual resolutions that have been brought forth, like Gay Pride Month. Give me a break. That's baloney. It has nothing to do with you guys or me personally. It has to do with a fight that's going on to try to correct some moral situation. But stop inviting all the drama. It drives me crazy. I came today, I didn't know this was on the agenda. I just wanted to come and say, hey, hi, Ryan, I like you. Jaron, you're doing a good job. Steve, oh, right on. Mike, you're good. Hey, just keep it to business and stop all the stupid resolutions about stuff that divide us. Why would you want to get in there? Don't divide us, unite us with good stuff. We fixed a road. I went up Middle Camp Road all the way to Sugar Pine. Wow. I don't know who approved that, but that's great. That is really cool. I slid off that road several times in the snow because it was badly, sloped. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have additional public comment on this item? All right, going once, going twice. Okay, with that, we'll bring it back to the board. We'd be looking for a motion. I did recommend one language change. Supervisor Kirk?
I had a question. What was the date that you had recommended?
20th to the 26th of October. It's the same thing. It's a floating one. In 2025, it's the week of October 20th.
But what was it in reference to, like free speech or?
It's an established free speech week holiday.
Okay, free speech. Yeah, so here's the deal. I love Nessa, I love your last comments. I think some reflecting that I've had in wake of this and the LGBTQ one, I really hope the same people in this room who are bashing this resolution show up and vote down your other resolutions that you bring before this board. It's interesting how this plays the games. But for me, moving forward, I'm probably going to vote down every single social resolution that comes before the board, because I do agree that we're not doing the county's business. We're not, when we're taking up that time, we're not doing the budget, or we're not doing roads, or we're not doing law enforcement or fire. So personal reflection, I actually agree with you. And so I look forward to the Democrats in the room bringing forth your resolutions and having social conversations when it works for you, but not for the other side. So I will be doing that. Claudia, the lady who worked for the county, and Kim Tracy, in the spirit of communication and collaboration, I personally invite you to coffee with me to have a conversation specifically about the comments that Charlie Kirk said and to go over the context in which he said them. And I will ask that we have a civil conversation and do that together. We can bring all of our computers, we could Google, whatever you want to do. We look at the context of what somebody said, because I don't think there's really any critical thinking going on here. I think it's Newsmax, it's Fox News, it's CNN. So I'm inviting you, before you leave today, to get my number to have a conversation. You don't need to come back and report out what that entails, but I'm serious about what I put forth. The resolution that's in front of you has nothing to do with being bipartisan. It has to do with the fact that this country is going crazy. And if you want to keep referring to Trump and Biden and everything going on in Washington, D.C., so be it. But I'm here in Tuolumne County, and I'm trying to work really hard to make sure that we keep Tuolumne County a safe and special place, so that when I go down the street and I see you in the store, Marianne, or any of you, there's not resentment built up. There's not this animosity and this anger. So let me just...
Unfortunately, we can't take any parliamentary motions from the audience there.
So in the spirit of collaboration, I invite you guys, before you leave, to sit down with me, carve out a couple hours, and let's have a conversation. And I call out you three because you three specifically mentioned some context. But yes, moving forward, I will be voting down every social resolution because I don't believe it has a place. If that's the defining point where we're getting to, then so be it. That's fine. So I have no problem moving it to that date in the spirit of getting support and making this isn't about. I know Charlie Kirk kicked off the conversation, but this is about how crazy things are getting on both sides, and we need to acknowledge that it needs to cool down. It needs to not be so polarized. And whether you're a Charlie Kirk supporter or not, I think we can all agree that that's a good thing to have a conversation about. So thank you, guys.
Okay. So with that, what I'm hearing is at least three that are fine with making the, as Supervisor Campbell's language, week of October 20th, and otherwise there wouldn't be any changes to it. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just had a real quick comment just to add on to what Supervisor Kirk said. So he developed the draft, sent it to me. I looked through it, made really pretty minor, I think, changes. I think a lot of it was written initially by Supervisor Kirk to address some of the issues that were brought up by members of the public. So I applaud him for those efforts. And if you read the resolution, I think there's very little, I think, that most people would dispute or argue that isn't something that should be supported by the county. And so I hope you'll keep that in mind, that it was structured in such a way that it would not be divisive. And it can be read into in a variety of different ways, and I'm sure it will. But I absolutely, Don, I don't think you and I have ever agreed more on an issue than what you just said. So I absolutely think that it is our role as supervisors to be leaders in the community and focus on the community's business. But I very rarely talk about things related to national politics except when they directly affect our county, and that's not by accident. It's not that I don't have opinions on things that happen at the state and federal level. I definitely do, but it's not my job to tell you how to feel about those things as a county supervisor. It's my job to advocate for this county and get the work done that serves this community. So that's where my head is at on it, and that's why, I'm supportive of passing this resolution. I think it accomplishes a meaningful goal, which is that we're supporting free speech and public service in Tuolumne County. And that's what the resolution says. That's what it's about. And I think that that's something that we can get on board with. To the point of making our board less focused on divisive issues, I am 110% in agreement with that. And I hope that after some of these experiences, the rest of the board is too. I think it is. So I'm happy to make a motion unless there's other comments.
Supervisor Holland.
If you want to make a motion.
Okay. I don't usually weigh in too much on this stuff. I sit here quietly and listen. But I agree with Dawn and Carol. I don't think we should get into this stuff. It's just we waste a ton of time on this, right? And it does, but it cuts both ways. So Marianne will be happy right now, but she will be pissed off later when this doesn't go her way. So remember this conversation we're having today, because we will key it up on the keyboard and show it later as a video. And I like what Ryan said. At first I was like, no, I'm just going to vote no on this. But I like the fact that Anaya and Ryan got together and got that done, because that is what the public asked for. Even though no one said this is nonpartisan, it's just funny that the two people they picked to work on this. And I like the fact that Ryan actually wants to support it, that he's in agreement. So it's actually changed my mind sitting, because I was like, I'm just going to vote no and never again on any resolution, period, and just be done with all of this. But today I think I am going to vote yes, because I think what you were saying has influenced what I'm hearing. But I do think we should move forward, just no more of these. And let's just work on regular business. So I just want everyone to mark the date, so when this comes up again in a different direction, we can cue up the tape and play it. So thank you guys for working on that. I appreciate it, both of you.
And only one quick comment is I do appreciate there have been resolutions brought to this board. I agree with the sentiments. I think particularly anything partisan, anything that is divisive, that is stuff that is not county business. The challenge comes in when we have things that I think are very supported. We have Dispatch Awareness Week. We recognize workers. And I'm using that as a very clear, we support that. There is a spectrum of things that then become increasingly things that not everybody agrees on. And so if we say we are not doing any of these, but without defining that line, that's where we get into, we do it for these, Sexual Assault Awareness Week, we do it for victims of this, we do it for national recognitions, but we're not going to do it for a Pride Month or for against hate crime or violence in that. I agree. I just want us to be cognizant. Same video, when we're talking back on it, it's not code words for we'll vote for this, but we're just not going to vote because we don't want to do the Pride one. We're not going to do any more resolutions that people disagree on, but then the next meeting we will probably have a resolution on here that is recognizing a holiday and a week. Do we want to make that a policy that's consistent where we no longer do those at all, or figure out a way that just works better? So that's the only comments I wanted to make.
In light of that, I'm personally okay with saying no more social resolutions, period. So that could come back, but I don't think we should give direction here. I think if we're going to do that, we need to put it on the agenda and have a conversation, because maybe it'd be great to get a list of what those ongoing yearly resolutions are and say, yeah, So I say,
it's a good idea.
Can we put it on the agenda, Roger, to bring back what are the resolutions that we usually full-heartedly adopt in the community supports? And that might be a little political, but I think it's worth getting that nailed in the coffin so that moving forward, there's just clarity and less divisiveness. So,
and just to and I agree. I think that's a discussion that needs to happen another day. But the distinction I'll make is that some of the resolutions that you referenced, Chair Brandon, are brought to the board from department heads and like district attorney, from the sheriff, from public health director. When they originate from that space, there's usually a reason for it, versus the top-down approach where I decide I want a resolution on an item that I think is important and bringing that to the board. I think that if we make that distinction, I think we can still have resolutions that are important to the community, but not quite as divisive.
I think both of those are very relevant to maybe the January governance manual discussion I think Roger had brought up in our agenda meeting.
And Jaron, that's what I was trying to
Supervisor
say,
Holland.
not that, like assault victims, I think that's good to support that. We do the one for the buses for the kids, right? Stuff like that I think is good. I think things that we're smart enough to know what's outside the realm of nonpartisan situation, be supportive, and I think we just put a list together, like you guys said, and move forward with it. And just, it's always, in most things we'd be supportive are things that happen every year, right? It's just like an ongoing thing.
We can't
redo.
assume though, we should put it on
Yeah.
the agenda for January and flush it out.
Well, and that's where the details are, because we may have different interpretations of it. I remember one, and I know we're talking more, but maybe this is important, was the Homelessness Awareness Week. I believe it was 4 years ago, and it was meant to talk about that issue. It wasn't, I would say, a hard partisan issue, but it was to some, not, I would say, the majority. We had some folks that said that that was a waste of time, that was a partisan political thing. I think that actually was brought from staff side, too. That's a good example of, is it not? It had some value, it came from staff, it was aligned with what we were doing, and yet it didn't in and of itself accomplish anything, and it's a very controversial topic. So I appreciate this conversation. I think we're probably ready to wrap it into a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 92-25, and I'll amend it saying declaring October 20th through the 26th as Free Speech Public Service Remembrance Day in Tuolumne County.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first by Supervisor Campbell.
Free Speech and Public Service Remembrance Week in Tuolumne County. If I didn't say that, I'm not sure if I said it right.
We have a first by Supervisor Campbell, a second by Supervisor Kirk on the item as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstaining. All right, passes unanimously. So looking real quick at what we've got to go, it is 11:51. We do have a few closed session items, 2 of them specifically relating to bargaining, 2 of them related to performance evaluations. I don't think we're going to be able to get to the open session items maybe in the next over the next like 30 to 45 minutes unless we wanted to try and power through. My recommendation would be we read the bargaining closed sessions, we adjourn to closed session, and for lunch we reconvene at 1 to finish the rest of our regular agenda. All right. If there's no opposition to that, then let's do that. So if our clerk can read items 15 and item 18, and we will conduct those over lunch. I think 16 and 17 will take longer, right? Yeah, they're gonna each take a little bit. We'll probably have to reconvene after lunch into closed again later.
Item number 15, closed session, conference with labor negotiators, Roger Root, interim county administrator, Liz Peterson, deputy county administrator, Karen McGettigan, human resources director / risk manager, and Deb Schuman, human resources manager. Authority Government Code section 54957.6, all bargaining units. Item number 18, closed session, conference with labor negotiators, Authority Government Code section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, Karen McGettigan, human resources director, and Christopher Schmidt, acting county counsel, unrepresented employee, county administrative officer.
Okay. And I'm going to look to our CEO and council really quick on 16 and 17 based on what the clerk mentioned. My gut instinct is we may need to do those after lunch, but we can get 15 to 18 done pretty quick during lunch. Should we read all of them right now?
I would read them all right now.
Okay. Let's go with that. If we need to, then we can do it after. So good instincts. 16 and 17, please.
Item number 16, closed session, public employee performance evaluation, Authority Government Code 54957B1, title, Public Health Officer and Medical Director for Emergency Medical Services. Item number 17, closed session, public employee performance evaluation, Authority Government Code 54957B1, title, Public Defender.
Okay, wonderful. So we will be opening up public comment for items 15 through 18 on the agenda. If any members of the public would like to speak, please come forward and do so. Good. Still morning.
Good morning. Yeah. Good morning. Mike DeAnda, Operating Engineers. I'm the representative for the Master Bargaining Unit or the Employees Bargaining Unit and the Healthcare Unit. And as you probably already know, we did meet on Friday. We restarted negotiations. And I'm hopeful that that you're going to hear something today that is going to help us move forward. I felt it was productive. Nothing was agreed upon per se, but I felt it was one of the most productive conversations we had in a long time. So as you know, the contract's been out for a year last month. We've been bargaining since May of 2024, and we're just seeking fair wages, benefits, and working conditions. And I'd like to segue into those working conditions. I've prefaced this before, that the employees are asked to do more because there's a lot of vacancies, and they're asked to do 2 to 3 duties plus their own, and it's just becoming difficult. It's not easy to sustain this over a long period of time. I'd like to give a quick example. If they were to remove 2 or 3 of you and then ask the remaining board members to finish up all the duties and work for the other areas, just trying to give a little bit of context there. I know it's not going to happen, you're elected officials, but just understand that your coworkers are no longer there, but those services and those items need to be completed. They're asked to do more, and it's just with less employees, it means less services to the public. When we started negotiations last year, you have 350 employees in the bargaining unit, you're down to 270. In the healthcare unit, started with 40 plus, you're down to 35. In the master unit, which is now down 80 positions, you only laid off 2. So you've lost like 78. And they are seeking a more livable wage and better working conditions at other places. So again, looking for a fair contract on your wages, benefits, and working conditions. The employees expressed to me, if relief doesn't come soon in wages and healthcare, especially for the 2026 numbers that went up 14.5%, they're going to leave. They're just going to leave. They cannot afford to live here. So please, when you go into closed session, understand you are in the lower wage earners in these bargaining units and understand the impacts. I really feel that it is a crisis on your health care. It really is. So please take that into context when you guys meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Maria Kaufman. I'm a county employee here on my personal time. In 2010, I had left my child's father, who was abusive to us, and I was homeless and on welfare. I got what felt like the opportunity of a lifetime, a subsidized employment position through the Welfare to Work program, working at the social services office. After 6 months, I was hired on to a full-time benefited position. As many of my coworkers have stated in recent meetings, I was so proud to get a county job with insurance and retirement. This was not just a job, but a career. I paid my dues and over many years got step increases and promotions. Minimum wage kept going up, but we got COLAs, which kept me from going backwards. But in the past 5 years, I started going backwards. Minimum wage in California has more than doubled since I started working for the county. Everyone in this room knows that the cost of living is high, but these are not just words. Housing costs more. PG&E has doubled their rates. Food prices have doubled and tripled. Gas prices, car insurance, firewood, everything. The Consumer Price Index has an increase every single year for the last 10 years. Our wages and cafeteria contributions have not kept up. 2023 was the very first year the entire time I worked for the county that the cost of health insurance went up, but the county refused to negotiate on cafeteria contributions. I've been out of pocket in 2024, more in 2025, and now in 2026, you're asking everyone, whether single, two-party, or family, to be out of pocket to make less money than we did the year before. I've already cut everything I can. I canceled TV, my home phone, my P.O. box. I don't eat out or get my hair or nails done. I get my clothes at thrift stores and my shoes at Walmart. I drive a 22-year-old car. I started working a second job 1 year ago. So I work office hours at social services and then I DoorDash on the evenings and weekends. I'm barely making it. I have no emergency savings fund. My dream of someday owning a home feels like a pipe dream. After working for the county for 15 years, I'm one paycheck away from being homeless again. Do the right thing. Give us a fair contract.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Beth Laurel McDonald. I've spoken before. I struggled with coming here today. My head tells me that you don't care, you're not listening, and it's a waste of time. but my heart says that we need to keep trying and make you listen. So I'm here again, DSS eligibility, and apparently I'm part of the part-time housekeeping staff now. To remind you that county employees have not had a cost of living increase in over 3 years. I wonder if you are all up at night thinking about what you can do for your employees, because your employees are up all night, scared about how they're going to put food on their tables, gas in their cars, and keep their lights on. According to the Board of Supervisors Governance Manual, the board is responsible for monitoring the fiscal health of the county and communicating clear information about policies and the fiscal condition and progress on goals. The board is supposed to honor, affirm, and celebrate the value of those who work for Tuolumne County. Yet there's no mention of your employees in the projected fiscal condition or goals. The governance manual says that the board's strategic goals for employee excellence and resiliency are to maintain organizational fiscal stability and sustainability, be the regional employer of choice, decrease the organization's vacancy rate, and value employee recognition. The manual says that goals are calibrated with resources and staff are not asked to deliver without resources. Would you consider food, shelter, a decent wage a resource? Honor, affirm, and celebrate the value of those who work for Tuolumne County. Again, county employees have not had a cost of living increase in over 3 years. We've seen the 2025 to 2026 budget. Your employees are not mentioned in that budget. You will hear a proposal today, and I hope that you consider it and make a decision that honors, respects, and celebrates your employees. Once again, honor, affirm, and celebrate the value of those who work for Tuolumne County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public speaking.
Welcome back.
I really hope what they're asking for is over $5 to $10 million, because I don't see what the hell's taking so damn long. If what they're asking for is less than $2 million, just get that shit done. There's money all over the place that you can find to make it work. As far as public employee performance evaluations, why are you picking and choosing who goes on here, right? Sarah Carrillo wasn't on here. So why do you have public health officer, medical director, when you skip like 3 or 4 people? As far as having them on here, I think you should take into account that the ambulance service annual report has not been updated since 2019. So might need to take that into consideration. And congratulations, Roger Root.
Thank you. Do we have additional public comment?
Well, we spent almost 40 minutes talking about that previous resolution, and your employees have come here at least for 4 meetings talking about their struggles without much conversation from you or any support from you. And I'm personally aware of some of your employees who have lost their homes because they can't afford it anymore. And the way you've treated your employees at this level and sometimes at this level has just been appalling.
Thank you. Do we have additional public comment? Going once, going twice. All right, seeing none, we will adjourn into closed session. I think, council, there was a technical question about when we do performance reviews. The answer there would be we do them over time, not all at once, and we do reviews for those at-will departments. It's just not today, so not particular order. Is that correct in your understanding?
That's my understanding from
Wonderful.
the CEO.
All right, so with that, we will adjourn into closed session and reconvene. Do we want to go for 1 o'clock or 1:30? Let's reconvene 1:30. We'll reconvene the Board of Supervisors meeting at 1:30. All right, thank you, everybody. We're reconvening the Board of Supervisors meeting at 1:37 p.m. Do we have a report out, council?
Are you sure?
No, Mr. Chairman, there is nothing to report out of closed session at this time.
Okay, great. So with that, we do have, they are two of our appointments there. Obviously, some of this is going a little longer, but a request to hear item 5 before that. So if there's no opposition to the board, clerk, please read item number 5 from the consent calendar.
Item number 5, approving the Third Amendment to the Automatic Aid Mutual Aid Agreement for Tuolumne County Fire Service Providers, adding the CAL FIRE Tuolumne Calaveras unit as a party to the agreement.
Okay. Supervisor Holland? Or the chief, either way. But since you pulled it. And Chief, you might give us a brief intro on item 5.
Certainly. Again, Nathan Gore, I'm Assistant Chief, CAL FIRE Tuolumne Calaveras Unit. Obviously, you'd have to go back approximately till 2006 when this was first enacted. Fast forward to 2016 when we brought on the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians, and then fast forward to the Chicken Ranch. So this would just be to formalize our existing agreement of an existing practice of the CAL FIRE Tuolumne Calaveras unit responding as a fire service provider in terms of the mutual aid automatic aid agreement in the county. So the request is to adopt it, obviously, to align more with the CAL FIRE policy and procedure request. We elected to not add CAL FIRE to the Second Amendment in order to streamline the addition of the Chicken Ranch Fire Department back in August. Excuse me. If CAL FIRE was to not be added, this would trigger a change in response plans and could lengthen response times as CAL FIRE resources who may be closer would not respond. We would be the only all-risk fire service provider in Tuolumne County that is not signatory to the agreement.
And Supervisor, that was you that pulled it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just trying to find the piece of paper that, my notes essentially. Okay. So why were you guys not part of the agreement in the get-go? Because we've had this since
2006.
2006. I thought CAL FIRE was always part of mutual aid, or the state side, whatever, TCU.
Correct. So it is an existing practice that we have been, but as of late, there's CAL FIRE department direction to memorialize and formalize our agreements.
Okay.
So in the 38 out of the 58 counties in California where we contract services, this is being done in all those to formalize our agreements.
But, okay, so you guys are trying to formalize stateside response, right? Because obviously Tuolumne County Fire,
right?
We don't need an agreement. We respond to our own stuff. So for all these 19 years, whatever it is, I guess, and I know you guys have always responded, but I guess was it just a clerical thing or was it consciously? Because I went back and I was reading these amendments and I see CAL FIRE logos all over everything, the maps and all this stuff, but then you read it and it was like they just were never a part of it. Was that on purpose or what? Why were they never? Because I've heard you guys talk about mutual aid all the time, right? Like you have to go, it's mutual aid, blah blah blah.
Right.
But then now we're finding out CAL FIRE did not have or doesn't have to respond.
We have done it in good faith up to this point, and it's been an existing practice as long as CAL FIRE TCU has been present operating in the county. And we are just wanting to formalize it as we have with every other fire service provider in the county.
So in the other 38 counties, this is normal not to be a part of the mutual aid agreement up until this time now.
I can't speak to them, but I can speak to here that we're just wanting to formalize the agreement to add CAL FIRE TCU as signatory for something we've already been doing.
Okay. I just found it surprising you guys weren't a part of it.
Yeah, but as of late, as I said, department policy, CAL FIRE, has requested that we now formalize our agreements.
From Sacramento or something like that. Because I mean, obviously I know you guys respond. I mean, that's not what I'm saying, but okay. Cool. Thanks. That's why I pulled it, because I was quite confused not to see you guys in there or what was going on there. Is there a reason why we're dating it, by the way, October 8th? Or was that just when you guys wrote it?
When I wrote it.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to do public comment and then return to the board for questions and a motion. So, Chief, thank you. Open up public comment on this item. If any members of the public would like to speak, you'll have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. All right, seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the board for additional questions, discussion, or a motion to approve.
I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, first by Supervisor Kirk, second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief, for that and for the note as well. Let me ask, do we have the folks and do we expect them for the appointments in the audience?
Natalie's here.
We do. Oh, no, I meant members of the public, but yes, yeah. Thank you for hanging out with us. Okay, so with that, how about we just knock out item 10 and we just keep on going then into our appointments? Sound good? Sure. All right, let's hear item 10. The clerk can read item 10 for us.
Item number 10, approving a letter of support for Tuolumne Utilities District and their proposal to an SNC Sustainable Recreation, Tourism, and Equitable Outdoor Access Directed Grant Program.
Okay, and Supervisor Holland, I think this was yours as well.
Yeah, I guess I could have asked it in the main section, but I didn't see like there was, and I know Don's here, so we can answer it. Like, I didn't see any maps or anything that we're supporting, and I don't know if it just didn't get attached or there was something missing or it's coming. I just know, like, you know, that's like asking us to sign a contract, but not showing us the contract and saying, hey, just support this, it'll be fine. So, that's all. So I just want to know, like, what it is we're supporting, I guess, or you got a better picture, like a conceptual, anything going on, or?
I think it'd be fine to invite, we have TD staff here to come answer questions as well.
Yeah, I've been seeing him rotate throughout, so it must have been Don's turn to come down for the meeting, because.
Good afternoon, Don Perkins, General Manager for TUD. Thanks for having me and having this opportunity. So, because it's all conceptual, right? As you probably are aware, most of you are aware, that there's already some fair amount of recreation up there. And with the enhancement we're going to do with the site, additional reservoir and things of that nature, it's been important to my board for more than a decade that we have some form of recognized trails and recreation out there, managed so that it just doesn't happenstance, it happens appropriately. So we have some concepts, but we haven't printed anything up. So
okay.
It's minimal.
Okay. That's all. I just want to know what we're,
yeah.
As I said, I didn't, you know, same thing, like if our attorney told Roger to sign a contract and didn't let him read the contract and said sign it, we'd be like, well, why would you do that? Right? So we're writing a letter of support. I just want to have an idea of what we're supporting. Yeah. But so you guys are just going to put some recreational stuff in, which I think is fabulous.
You know, it's going to be a beautiful site. It is a beautiful site. We're just going to enhance it. And there's some wetlands out there we want to protect. So we're providing trails that guides people in and around the wetlands and protects the wetlands. And, do some public engagement, interpretive signs and benches, things of that nature.
And you guys, you think you're going to get the grant? This was to go for the grant, right? You guys are trying to get the grant to do it. Okay. Any idea what you think it's going to run or cost?
I want to say the grant's for better than $250,000.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for coming by.
Great, thank you. All right, there's no questions or comments from the board yet. Open up for public comment. If any members of the public would like to speak on item 10. Going once, going twice. All right, not seeing any comment, we'll bring it back to the board for additional comments, questions, or a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion. We approve the letter of support for TUD.
Second.
All right, we have a first by Supervisor Holland, a second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining. All right, passes unanimously. Shall we set up for our 10 a.m. appointment? How long do you think you will need just to get everything set up? Okay. Wonderful. All right, if the clerk can read item 10, and then after that, we'll go into item 10:30.
10 a.m., public hearing to consider Wilkinson Ordinance for Zone Change, LUNR 25-15, to rezone an approximately 0.5 8+ acre portion of a 5.9+ acre parcel from RE-2 residential estate 2 acre minimum to RE-5 residential estate 5 acre minimum under Title 17 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code, notice of exemption pursuant to the state CEQA guidelines.
Take it away.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Natalie Rizzi, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. And the item we have before you is zone change Lunar 2515, and the owner and applicant is James Wilkinson. Lunar 2515 consists of a zone change to rezone approximately 0.5 acre portion of a 5.9 acre parcel from RE2 or residential estate 2 acre minimum to RE5 or residential estate 5 acre minimum. This zone change is required to facilitate a lot line adjustment to adjust the 0.58 acre portion to an adjacent parcel. The project site is a 5.9 acre parcel zoned RE2 with a general plan designation of estate residential as depicted in the tan color. Lunar 2515 would rezone approximately 0.58 acres of this parcel to RE5 so that a lot line adjustment can be completed with the RE5 parcel directly to the south. The project site is located along Miramonte Road in the community of Tuolumne. This slide includes the proposed exhibit map for the lot line adjustment. The triangle piece is the area proposed to be rezoned to RE5, so it may be adjusted to the parcel directly below that is also owned by Mr. Wilkinson. On August 18, 2025, adjoining property owners within 500 feet were notified. The project stakeholder notification was posted to the planning webpage and advisory agencies were notified. The CDD did not receive any responses from members of the public. No concerns or substantial comments were raised by advisory agencies. Their comments have been included in your board packet. Lunar 2515 was considered by the Tuolumne County Planning Commission on September 17, 2025. The commission unanimously voted to recommend approval of Lunar 2515 based on findings A through E. No members of the public spoke and no substantial concerns or questions were raised by the commission. This slide includes the required findings for a zone change application. Staff has provided evidence for each of the findings as indicated in your staff report. The Board of Supervisors' decision on the zone change is based on these findings. The board may approve Lunar 2515, deny Lunar 2515, or send the project back to staff for further review or additional information. And based on the evidence discussed today and contained within your board packet, staff recommends to approve Lunar 2515 based on findings A through E. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Natalie, thank you. Supervisor Kirk, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, no questions. It's pretty simple.
Okay. Any other comments at the board? Otherwise, open this up for public comment. If any members of the public would like to speak on our 10 a.m. appointment, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. All right, public comments closed on that. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions, discussions, or motion on the staff recommendation.
This might be a record. I'm going to make a motion on staff recommendation to approve zone change Lunar 25-15 based on findings A through E.
Second. Okay, we have a first by Supervisor Kirk. We have a second by Supervisor Griefer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. And looking through, I believe we only have items, correct me if I'm wrong, 12, 14, and our 10:30 appointment. Is that correct? How about we go and just, we'll do our 10:30 appointment. Clerk can read that item and we'll set up for the section there.
10:30 a.m. Consideration of waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 15 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code regarding construction codes and fire safety standards.
Okay. And who will be presenting on this? It's going to be Roger?
No, as the state adopts new building codes, counties are required to adopt or to adopt those codes within the counties. As you know, this is probably a new area for me, so I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks working on understanding why we have to do the adoption and the changes that would take place within the adoption. And I think there's some staff here that will be able to speak to some of the changes, and also I think County Council wants to speak to some errors on the menu and some clarification on a couple of areas before we start.
Thank you, Roger. Yeah, I just had there's one typo in the draft ordinance that I needed to address and that we will be correcting, assuming the board moves us forward at the next meeting. It's regarding Appendix P, or what's currently listed in Appendix P in Section 15.04.010A. It's in reference to adopting appendices in the building code. It's currently listed as Appendix P, but that was numbered in the current building code as Appendix Q. So any references to adopting Appendix Q should read any references to adopting Appendix P should read Appendix Q. So that is in the red line on the proposed ordinance, page 1 in section 2, and in the red line at page 15-2. So I just wanted to note that. So we'll be requesting that the board approve the ordinance as written with that correction and move it forward to the meeting in December.
Great. Thank you. We'll bring it back to the board. I did have just one question about the applicability AB 130, state efforts on basically pausing local building code updates without certain exemptions, and whether we can take advantage of that to provide some more stability in terms of what we've already got on the books.
So what AB 130 does is it prevents local jurisdictions from adopting amendments to the building code that would apply to residential. It does not. It also puts a freeze in place for the state. Has this every 3 years they update the building codes and residential codes. That's not going to happen with the residential code until 2031.
Okay.
But the county still is responsible for adopting the building codes. We just can't adopt any local amendments that would impact residential. We can readopt local amendments that we already had, though, which is what we're proposing. We're basically the proposal here is to keep our building code as it has been.
Okay. And that's for the 25 cycle. So for 28, when that comes back, then we potentially could pause the 28 implementation to 2031.
There shouldn't be a new residential code in 2028. And we wouldn't be readopting codes if they impact residential.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm with Jaron on this. My understanding was Newsom signed this thing saying, keep the 22 building code in place, don't implement 25 until 2031 because of the restrictive nature of some of these items, which will make building more of a problem. And I think you've heard us consistently say we need more housing, we need more building. So I'm not sure, because the base code will still be adopted no matter what. That's not a max process. It's all the appendixes that go on that's really where the devil in the details become. And so I don't know if I'm really comfortable with us waiving this reading until we get better clarification, because why are we going to do anything that's going to make building more difficult in our county if Newsom, of all people, is saying, maybe pause this. If even he doesn't think this is a good idea, why would we then proceed down that road to do that?
Well, there aren't any local amendments that we're making that makes building residential more difficult.
I'm not saying local. I'm just saying what you're asking us to adopt.
Yes.
Is that not what he signed in AB, was it 131, Jaron, or 130? 130.
No, AB 130 does not say that counties don't have to adopt the 2025 building and residential codes. What it does is it puts a moratorium in new codes after that, and it also restricts local jurisdictions from amending those codes to make building residential more difficult. So the county still is obligated to adopt the state codes. If we don't, they'll be applicable by default. We just won't have any of our local amendments, and we wouldn't be following the requirements of the Health and Safety Code to adopt the 2025 codes.
I guess I'm confused. I guess if I have no choice how to vote, why do I vote? What you just told me was if I voted for it or not, it's going to be fully implemented. So what's the point of even bringing this to me then to vote on? And I still think we need clarification on this AB 130, because I think I'm with Jaron with this, that my understanding was he's talking about pausing this, or gave us the option to pause it. Not that we have to, but we have the option to pause it.
Yeah, and that's just not my understanding of the effect of AB 130. I've researched the issue, and that's not my understanding.
County Councilor, another one? I know you want to pitch
Well,
your
I
mic.
agree with Cody. I haven't reviewed the specific statute myself, so I would follow Cody's advice. I would point out that if you don't adopt this, your current local amendments that you have in there won't be adopted. So you'd be stuck with a state building code without those existing current local amendments that you do have.
Like, give me an example. What would fall off that would cause a problem?
Do you know that, Cody?
The local amendments are minimal, and they are adopting certain appendices which are optional that the county has adopted in the past, and then there are some minor amendments with regard to appeals and kind of administrative process. I'm just looking at the ordinance itself. I mean, it's really, these are amendments that have been in our local ordinance code, and we kind of keep trying to maintain them just to have our local county government function as it functions. And it's really tailoring the state codes as much as we can to fit our local practice. So this really is not a departure from past adoptions of building code, construction codes. I don't know if I can get any more specific than that.
Well, I didn't really hear any examples, but why would they fall off then if they're already part of our code? If we just stay the status quo, why would anything change?
Because there are new codes that the state has adopted, 2025 codes, that the health and safety code requires the county to adopt, and we have some options to make some local amendments. If the county does not adopt those codes will automatically go into effect January 1st, the 2025 codes. So we'll be responsible for enforcing those state codes, even if they're not in our ordinance code and even if we don't take any steps to adopt them.
I think it creates an incongruity. Somebody could come in and challenge our code, and then just rather than just it matches.
I'll let everyone else have a say at this.
Any other?
The only thing I have to say is I'm trying to Google what 130 is and get some clarification on it. We do have attorneys who have spent time on it, but it would be great to get a little synopsis of what 130 is about, just so we're clear as far as what we're approving and if we really need to. Sure,
yeah. AB 130 did a number of things, but as it impacts the state building codes, it used to be, before AB 130, that local governments could make amendments to the building codes. They could make things more stringent, more difficult in various areas. AB 130 takes that ability away.
So it's about the local jurisdictions doing more than the state.
Correct. And AB 130 limits
they're saying
that.
you can't do that.
Yeah, it takes that away to make in an effort to make building residential more streamlined and easier.
Does that make? I'm trying to see if that makes. That makes sense.
I haven't got the chance to research it, so I'm not sure. But all I know is I don't want us to be more restrictive if we're trying to get to a goal of more housing.
Yeah, no, I don't think any of us wants to be more restrictive, and it sounds like there's some jurisdictions that are, and Newsom's saying no, we're not going to let you.
If we pause this to the next meeting, so we can, because we're just waiving a reading, then can we bring back some more information so we feel comfortable making that decision?
The issue is just timing, because we've only got so many meetings before the first of the year. As it stands, we're going to be, actually a little bit beyond, this will go into effect 30 days after it's adopted. It'll be beyond January 1st. So really what we need to do is, the goal was to get these adopted before January 1st.
No offense, Cody, but if you guys bring it to us the last minute and say, well, we're out of time, that sounds like a you problem, not so much an us problem. And if you want to feel comfortable on making the decision, then there should have been like some pre-conversation about this or brought it sooner. So if there is this hitch, we have time to do some research on it, right? Like, the last thing I want is any of us to be rushing to a decision because we're like, oh, well, the clock.
Sure.
It's a great strategy. It's just, it's just not one I love right now.
Respectfully, there's no strategy involved with trying to
I'm being
slide anything through. My door is open. My phone is open. You're always welcome to come and ask me questions. I do regret that this wasn't on an earlier agenda. With this current staffing of the building department, the process has been a little bit more challenging this year. I can just,
I understand that.
I'll just put it like that.
I was only going to just say I didn't bring this up kind of in advance. I think Roger and I had very casually referenced some of the code changes at the state, but that was what I wanted to make sure is that you had looked into AB 130 and checked the compliance of it. That's, for me, sufficient to move forward with it because we've done this before and it's fairly routine. And I trust that interpretation. I agree that having that from state mandates currently, but it's what, which one it applies to, how it applies. It also, I think it's multiple bills all wrapped into one. I'm fine to move forward. That's all.
I think where I stand is I'm okay with us being 30 days late if there's more than just Holland and myself who might maybe want a little bit more time to research it. I'm not gonna. I'm okay with being late on it to feel comfortable, but we got to have 3 to make that happen. So either way, I'm good.
Just for a little bit of clarity too, I mean, you guys are not adopting it today, you're adopting it in December, so you can direct us to bring back more information in December for the final adoption, and if you're not comfortable at that time, we can table it.
That sounds fair.
Okay.
I'm on board with that.
So with that, open up public comment if there's no further board discussion on this. This is for our 10:30 appointment. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak, please come forward. Going once, going twice. All right, with that, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board. I think the staff is recommending a approval on staff recommendation for this item. So questions, comments, or a motion?
My only question is just based on this conversation, when that next meeting is, just if you could clarify what AB 130 and if it's regarding local jurisdiction, which it sounds like it is, but if you could just give me some source documents for that.
Yes, yeah, we can add that to the staff memo.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a first by Supervisor Griefer. We have a second by Supervisor Kirk. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining?
Nay.
Nay. All right. Passes 4-1-0 with Supervisor Holland voting no. Okay. So with that, I believe we are into, we only have items 12 and items 14. So let's go into item 12. The clerk can read the item for us.
Item number 12, consideration of reducing environmental health consumer protection fees.
Please take
Okay,
it away.
so I presented at the board meeting a request to get some direction from the board to look at reducing some of the environmental health consumer protection fees. As you may recall, back in June, we had some public pressure to revisit those fees since several of the fees had gone up pretty substantially, over 300% in some cases. And so we went back and we looked at all the fees in the consumer protection area and identified the ones that had substantial increases. And I think the board agreed that it's understandable that we're going to have some fee increase, that we just thought the 300% was a little high for 1 year. And so we went back, we looked at from the 2023 fees, if we did a 5% increase for those 2 years, and then the 2.4% increase, which is based on some cost of living calculations that come from the county administrator's office, working with the auditor's office. And so we added that on also, which reduced the fees in some of those more significant areas. And I'll just use one example, the fee for the tattoo shops. You pay a fee for the shop, then you pay a fee for each chair in that shop, and those fees for each chair had gone up from $136 up to over $400. And so those fees will be reduced back down to a more reasonable rate of $136 plus times the 12.45%. In the memo, I also provided you an attachment that shows, the board direction back in December of 2024 was to get 100% full cost recovery. So there's a table included in there that would show you what the fees would be at a 80%, 85%, 90%, and 95%, and what the cost on general fund would be if we did those fees at those rates. Our recommendation is that we do the fee increases at the 12.45% and reducing the revenue coming into community development department by $72,019.14, which we would need the board to then approve moving that money from contingencies over into community development. I'm here to answer any questions. We also have our environmental health director here, and we are already discussing internally some operational procedural changes that they can put in place to help reduce the cost. And I'll give one example of that. Some of our larger resorts or pools, locations have multiple pools, and the procedure was before that if we went to that location and you had 3 pools and we were charging $1,000 to inspect the pool, we charge $1,000 to inspect all 3. Moving forward, because of the fact we're traveling there one time, the cost to inspect the second, third pool would be less than the initial cost. And so we're looking at any area like that where we can be more efficient in operationally and charge less in our fees because of the way we're operating differently.
All right, great. Bring it back to the board for any questions and comments. Supervisor Holland?
Thank you, Roger, for this. I know I'm the one that had the town hall on environmental health. I think this is a good example of government recognizing we might went a little bit too far, scaling it back, helping out the business owners. We want to keep people employed, keep people working, and every little bit helps, especially with everything else that's going on. So again, thank you guys for working on that. Environmental health, thank you for working on that. So glad to see it get done, hopefully. We'll go from there.
Supervisor Kirk?
Yeah, I just, question and then comment. The question is, I thank you for putting at the bottom, it appears that those hits, so that'll be to the general fund, 72, 30, 21, 12, 3. So I'm assuming we're fine, or is that going to cause any other ripple effects?
Those are the amounts that we're estimating that we would lose in revenue by reducing the fees.
Okay.
That would need to come out of contingencies, yes.
Okay. All right. And yeah, I agree with Supervisor Holland. Thanks for putting on that town hall. I did attend it, and I think it's appropriate. I thought the hit to the general fund would be much larger, so I was pleased to hear at the last board meeting it wasn't, and these numbers reflect that, so thank you. And also, I just want to thank Roger. You've been going out in the field and meeting with these individuals, and that says a lot about slowing down, and you're kind of like the sixth board member in a sense. So I appreciate you going out there and meeting with folks. And I think it's going to be important to do that with a lot of these changes that we're doing into the future. So thank you for that.
Supervisor Griefer? All right, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I was on the fence. I appreciate, you guys have already said it. I appreciate all the work you've put in. I know the people that I've spoken to are really glad that, we're looking at it and evaluating it. Like Mike said, this is a good course correction. It takes some of the sting out of some of those smaller mom and pop groups that are trying to survive. I know in Groveland, we specifically lost one cottage business because of this. So it put them right out of business. They just couldn't afford it. So hopefully this will encourage them to get back and encourage better business. And thank you.
I agree with the same comments there. I think at the time we had a lot of costs at the county. There hadn't been a lot of reductions. We've made a lot of decisions this past year that have bludgeoned us a little bit. And I agree with Supervisor Kirk too. The numbers on this are helpful. It's hard to exactly see the impacts. It is a cost, but it's a cost that is manageable. So I'm in support. I only want to say, as we mentioned before, that I'd like to have this not be one and done. There are other ways from conversations last year, like can we do every other? Can we do the group hourly? I see the hourly rate on here, and I appreciate that. And then the size rated, I think you had brought up too, but it's a very good concept. The inspection cost for the Mercantile in Columbia should not be the same rate that it is for Safeway. Those are two different scales. So I look forward to that next level of trying to make it a little easier and a little more adaptable. All right. Not seeing any further comment or questions. I'll open it up to public comment. If any members of the public would like to speak, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice.
All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for any further conversation or a motion.
So move to accept.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a first by Supervisor Griefer to move on staff recommendation. We have a second by Supervisor Holland. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. All right, passes unanimously. All right, moving right along, we're into, I believe, our last item, number 14, if the clerk can read item 14.
Item number 14, consideration of approving the designation of 2 board members to the 2026 California State Association of Counties, CSAC, Board of Directors, Delegate, and Alternate.
We had a discussion at the agenda prep meeting on this a bit. This is an interesting appointment. It does not happen at the time that a new chair would normally make the rest of the appointments as well. So all to say that could be something we discuss. I felt it would be appropriate for this decision to be left to our vice chair, who happens to also be our CSAC rep. But that's why we're considering it. I believe in the past we've just simply done nominations from the dais. So Supervisor Campbell as our CSAC rep.
Well, I would be happy to serve again as a county CSAC representative. As you might know, I'm campaigning for president of our State Association of Counties. If I'm successful in that, the benefit to Tuolumne County would be that we would be able to hold some of the CSAC events in Tuolumne County. It would bring some of that attention and that advocacy. But another benefit to that is that I would not, my position on the board of directors, I would be able to vote as president of CSAC, and so that would free up another position on the board of directors for another Tuolumne County supervisor. So if I continue on in this position now, it allows me to run for president. If I am elected, then we'll be back here and we'll be able to appoint another Tuolumne County board of directors. So we'll actually have 2 votes on the board of directors for CSAC if that works out. So that's my pitch for continuing it with status quo.
Okay.
Who's our alternative? Is it you, Jaron?
I
Currently?
don't know. Staff, who we have who the alternate? No, I don't believe I was, but just to double check. There were some changes in appointments.
Give me just a minute.
Great, thank you. But we'll be appointing a new.
I think it's.
I thought it was Jaron too.
Alternate.
Yeah, okay, I thought it was Jaron.
Yeah, I'd be fine to stay as the alternate, but it's either way.
Do we normally do this in November? Is that
Yeah, so again, this one, some of these send out requesting an appointment well in advance of when we would normally do this in January. So it's an odd spot because as an outgoing chair, I'm making an appointment, which is effectively for next year, which really would presumably be the vice chair and the next year as board
Supervisor
making
Brandon's
it. So.
Supervisor Brandon's the alternate based on the Board of Supervisors committee assignments. Sheet that I'm looking at.
Thank you. So if there's a motion from the board, I'd be happy to serve in that again as backup. But
Well, sounds like if Ryan wins, you become the delegate. Is that right?
we would probably have to elect one, and that would be an option.
Yeah, if I win, then we would get an opportunity at that time to appoint another person to fill my old spot on the board of directors.
How are your odds looking?
It's just like with the regular Board of Supervisors election. If everybody who says they're going to vote for me votes for me, then I'd win by 125%.
So 50-50.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this is where we bargain. How about if you win and they bring it up here, then we all get to have a 5-minute conversation with
him,
with you publicly.
Great.
No, good.
Happy
no,
to.
I think we
think
should take everybody
Graham
on
has
a tour of
devised
the
ring.
forest at the same time.
All to say is I'd be willing to be the alternate. We can talk later on that. Probably if you win and there's another spot open, I'll have to really evaluate my time commitment. I can fill in whether I have the capacity to go to, as I normally have for 4 years, every conference and the meetings required. I'm not sure if I have that for 26, so we can see.
So on You muddied it a little bit. You still want to be the alternate, or do you think with your time commitments you should?
I'm fine to be alternate, but if we
comes up.
open up a second position,
Oh,
I
gotcha,
don't want it to assume that I will immediately take that. I'm able to fill in. That's right now what I'm comfortable with.
All right. Well, I may not always agree with Supervisor Campbell, but if you've hacked away at getting yourself to potentially be the president, then best of luck. And I think that would be a good thing for Tuolumne County. So I'm going to move on recommendation to have you be the alternate, or not the alternate, the appointed, and then Brandon be the alternate for CSAC.
I'll second that.
Cool. All right. Did we do public comment on this? I don't think we have yet.
You were batting 1,000.
Yep. I know. I haven't forgotten the public comment at all today. It's great.
Perfect game.
We'll pause on the motion and go to public comment. If any members of the public would like to speak, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. All right, closing public comment. There is a motion on the table. First by Supervisor Kirk, recommending Supervisor Campbell as the sitting rep and myself as the alternate for another year. Second was Supervisor Griefer? Holland, Mike? Sorry. I didn't quite get the visual cue on it. By Supervisor Holland. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? All right, passes unanimously. So I think that is everything on the agenda. Is that correct? I did want to, there was a comment, and I felt like this is worth saying. Probation got $2 million in that consent calendar item. I know we were pulling some off. It just needed to be recognized. That's amazing. That's state money coming in. And I know we're reading through all of it, but sometimes things get missed in the comments. Just to recognize a very hardworking department, and that's going to help a lot. All right, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. It is 2:18 p.m. Go have fun, you kids, and enjoy your day.